we have a distinguished panel of speakers and esteemed guests who will share their insights and expertise on various facets of the Union budget. I request CA Anup D. Francis, Chairperson, Thrissur branch of ICAI, to come onto the dais. Next, I welcome CA T.R. Anandaraman, President, Thrissur Management Association, onto the dais. I invite Shri Hamlet C. Paul, President, Investors Club, Thrissur, onto the dais. I invite CS Vinny C.T., Chairperson, ICSI Thrissur Chapter, onto the dais. Next, I invite Shri Sajeev Manila, President, Chamber of Commerce, Thrissur, onto the dais. I would like to invite our erudite speakers onto the dais: Dr. V.K. Vijay Kumar, Chief Investment Strategist, GeoG Financial Services; C.A.R. Krishnan, Senior Partner, Messrs. Rangamani & Co., and Shri T.C. Matthew, Senior Financial Journalist. Before we begin, may I request everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. Please be seated. To formally welcome everyone to the seminar, I would like to invite the Chairperson of Thrissur branch of ICAI, CA Anup D. Francis, to deliver the welcome address.
Distinguished guests, respected speakers, fellow chartered accountant, and my dear friends, a warm good evening to all. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this highly anticipated seminar on the Union Budget 2024. As a Chairman of ICAI Thrissur branch, it's an honor to host this event in collaboration with Thrissur Management Association, the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Chamber of Commerce, and Investors Club of Thrissur. The Union Budget is not just a statement of income and expenditure. It is a blueprint for the country's economic policy and reflection of the government's vision for the future. Today's seminar provides a unique platform for us to drill deep into the implications of this budget, understand its events, and discuss its deep impact on various sectors of the economy. We are privileged to have with us an esteemed panel of speakers who bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise in the field of finance and economics. Dr. V.K. Vijay Kumar, the Chief Investment Strategist at GeoG Financial Services, whose insight into market trends and investment strategies are invaluable. First of all, I would like to welcome V.K. Vijay Kumar sir to the seminar. I request Varghese Paul sir to give a bouquet to Vijay Kumar sir. Welcome sir. Next, we have an eminent chartered accountant, C.A.R. Krishnan sir, a distinguished CA whose expertise in taxation and financial regulations will provide us with a comprehensive understanding of the budget's implication for business and individuals. Krishnan sir, welcome to Thrissur branch and welcome to the seminar. Next, we have a very senior journalist, T.C. Matthew sir, whose in-depth analysis and journalist acumen will help us navigate the complex economic landscape shaped by this budget. T.C. Matthew sir, welcome to Thrissur branch and welcome to our seminar sir. Their diverse perspectives and rich experience will undoubtedly enrich our discussion and provide us with a holistic view of Union Budget 2024. I extend heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers for taking the time to share their insights with us today. I would also like to welcome President of Thrissur Management Association and our own member CA T.R. Anandaraman sir to this seminar. I would like to welcome Sri Hamlet C. Paul, President of Investors Club Thrissur to this seminar. I welcome Sri Sajiv Manjina, President, Chamber of Commerce, Thrissur to this seminar. Welcome, sir. I would like to welcome CS Lini CT to the seminar, who is the chairperson of ICSI Thrissur chapter. Welcome, Lini. I would like to thank each the other association for their unwavering support in organizing this seminar. I encourage all participants to actively engage in this discussion, ask questions and share your viewpoints. This seminar is not just about listening, it is about learning, debating and growing together as a community of professionals dedicated to the economic development of our nation. With these words, I am welcoming all the participants over here. Welcome to the seminar. Have a grateful learning. Thank you very much. Jai ICI, Jai Hind.
Thank you, CA Anu, for the warm welcome. We also welcome you to this joint seminar. I request CA Jean Paul, the past chairperson of ICI, to hand over the rose to CA Anu. Next, I would like to call upon CA T.R. Anandaraman, President of Thrissur Management Association, to address the gathering.
Ladies and gentlemen, or rather, very few ladies and a lot of gentlemen, good evening to all of you. We are again assembled here to discuss about the 7th consecutive budget presented by our Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman. But there is something unusual. It's being done in the month of July rather than in the month of February. And we all know the obvious reason for that. February there was an interim budget before the elections and a full budget was presented yesterday. A lot of questions. We all know that the budget was in line with whatever was being done over the past 10 years. Same philosophy continues in this budget, except maybe a little bit of adjustments due to coalition politics. Poor farmers, poor people, farmers to youths. These are the target areas for this budget. We have 3 fantastic experts from whom we can discuss and listen about all the nitty-gritties of the budget. All of us would have read about it, heard about it, but there are many questions which might be there in our mind. We would have seen the budget news in the paper. But since Nirmala Sitharaman started presenting the budget, one thing I observed was that whatever is being said is different, and there are many nuances hidden in the annexures that come in the finance bill, and that is where we need the help of experts to decipher that and to make us understand, about the budget as a whole. If we look at it, there are many questions like that comes into our mind, like long-term capital gains. What will happen now for a property sale? The real estate market in Kerala is already dull. Now is this going to impact us in a huge manner? And TDS provisions. I'm talking as a chartered accountant now. TDS provisions. Have they been really simplified, or are there any hidden issues over there? On a macroeconomic level, something very interesting like articleship for students. The government is pushing for giving articleship or apprenticeship for 1 crore youth of the country, which is mind-boggling. If that is actually implemented with 5,000 rupees of stipend as they have mentioned, which can be routed from CSR funds. I think that will change the entire scope of the country. Youth will become more employable if they get 1 year training in big institutions, including private companies. So all these questions, whether that is actually implementable or whether that is something which is a selling point for the budget, the experts will deliver. I really do not want to stand between you and the three stalwarts sitting here. So that's it. That's about it. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, CATR Anandaraman, for sharing your perspective of the union budget announcement. We will now proceed with the lamp lighting ceremony. I request all the dignitaries on and off the dais to join for the lamp lighting. The lamp lighting ceremony is a traditional and significant ritual that symbolizes the dispelling of darkness and the illumination of knowledge and wisdom. Through this ceremony, we honor the timeless tradition of seeking truth and knowledge, paving the way for a successful and meaningful event. With the lamp lit, let us move forward to our first session, Economic Reforms Announced in the Union Budget 2024. The session shall be held by the learned and eloquent speaker Dr. V.K. Vijaykumar, Chief Investment Strategist, Geojet Financial Services. I invite Shri Hamlet C. Paul, President of the Investors Club Thrissur, to shed light on this topic and also to introduce the esteemed speaker, Dr. V.K. Vijaykumar.
Dear honorable dignitaries on dais and all my friends consisting of 5 different organizations. We have gathered a very good gathering, very inspiration to this talk. About budget economic reforms, Indian law drastically changed from our former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's first Finance Minister, 1991 budget. Then all reforms tried to accelerate the reforms agenda of Indian economy. Present Prime Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in the 7th budget further had opened up our economy for more foreign investors, which will be good for all class of investors. Also, she supported next generations with more employment opportunities and entertained entrepreneurship as a factor of production. More and more we can hear from our dear Dr. V.K. Vijaykumar. He is the most important person concerned about our Investors Club. He is the founder of our Investors Club in 1986. He was after retiring from Sri Krishna College from Guruvayur as head of the Department of Economics and Proposal, he joined Georgia Securities as their Chief Financial Investment Strategist. He is well known for his articles in economic and financial issues. His articles appear in major national English dailies besides all Malayalam publications. Also, regular participant in each such discussions in TV channels and miscellaneous channels, all we can see everywhere. As an academic, he has presented 88 papers in national and international seminars. He is a resource person for almost all universities in Kerala and also directors of board of directors of 2-3 companies. One our son, Medical Research Center, and Malappuram Rudy Jewellers. He is continuing such a financial dealings always. Dr. Vijaykumar made presentation as financial planning, investment planning, wealth management, Indian stock market related topics in universities all over India, different universities. These videos of stock market, economic and financial matters are widely viewed. We are frequently seeing it in many channels. Now we can hear his live talk. Welcome, Joma sir.
Thank you, Sri Hamlet C. Paul. Now over to Dr. V.K. Vijaykumar for the technical session.
My good friends on the dais, Anup Francis, T.R. Anthraman, Hamlet Paul, Sanjeev Manjula, my fellow panelists, Sri R. Krishnan and Sri T.C. Matthew, and Lini C.T. and Ajit Kaiman, my friends sitting in the audience in front of me, and ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to all of you. I'm very glad to be here with you this evening. Indeed, delighted to participate in this union budget analysis. Participating in this budget analysis here has always been a very pleasant experience. Coming here and participating in this analysis has almost been a custom for me for the past several years. Of course, I missed a few meetings. Otherwise, I've been very consistent in coming here and participating in this analysis. So once again, let me thank my friends, the organizers, for this opportunity once again. Last time, when we had this budget analysis, my fellow panelist, chartered accountant, was a little bit agreed. Shantan and I participated in a All India online discussion organized by the State Bank of India. He also said there is nothing much to talk about because there are no budget proposals regarding taxation. This time it is totally different. My chartered accountant friend has his plate full. Many friends came to me and asked me some doubts already about the direct taxes. I told them, you have better experts, you can ask them. There's a lot of questions being asked, lots of grey areas, particularly about the removal of indexation on sale of property, things like that, its implications. So we have experts in the field on taxation, and also we have Mr. T.C. Matthew, who has a great expertise in the field of finance. So I will confine myself to my chosen area of macroeconomics. What is the macroeconomy right now, and what are the budget proposals relating to the macroeconomy, and what are the likely implications of the budget proposals from the macroeconomic perspective. I was reading the newspapers this morning. I could not read all because of some other very tough commitments on preparation of some videos and all that. So while reading the important newspapers, I was really struck by the headline of Business Standard. Business Standard described this budget in 3 words. Political but prudent. That is what Business Standard described this budget. I believe it is one of the best descriptions that you can make about this budget. Political but prudent. The political dimension of the budget and the prudence part deserves a lot of analysis, and the implications of that have to be examined in detail. Before the elections, Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared that the next budget would be transformational. Transformational was the word that he used. That was a description coming out of his confidence, perhaps overconfidence of the BJP coming back with majority on its own. But things have completely changed. The last 10 years, budgets were budgets of the single party governments, and there were no political compulsions. But this time it is totally different. Politics has completely changed, and the government is dependent upon 2 coalition partners, the TDP and the JDU, for its support. And that's why the political dimension has assumed a lot of importance. It was the famous German statesman Otto von Bismarck who famously said that politics is the art of the possible. Politics is the art of the possible. Politicians know how to bargain and how to get what they want through bargaining, particularly if the bargaining is favorable in a coalition environment. And that's why this time we have the political dimension in the budget. I am not going into the details because we know what the political part of the budget is. The huge outlay for Bihar, and also the serious consideration that has been given to Andhra Pradesh, which has become a major grievance of other states, including Kerala. But the remark of Business Standard that this budget is prudent despite being political is what really impressed me. The overarching theme of this budget is its fiscal consolidation. I observed this for the past few decades since liberalization in India. Only economists and institutional investors, very serious people, talk about fiscal deficit. Have you ever heard of a political leader complaining about higher fiscal deficit and asking for fiscal consolidation, fiscal prudence? They never do that. Because politicians always love spending money. They are always focused on expenditure. They never talk about that. I have never come across even a single instance in Kerala where we had a hartal against high fiscal deficit. Never happened in India. Even the public at large are not concerned about fiscal deficit because they do not know what fiscal deficit is and what are the implications of a higher fiscal deficit. But as serious people, we know that fiscal deficit is hugely important. So that's why I said the greatest merit of this budget is that it has put fiscal consolidation as its overarching theme. Due to the outbreak of COVID, once in a century kind of pandemic, our fiscal deficit went through the roof and it touched 9.2% because the government had to spend huge amount of money on disaster management, not so helping the people because of lockdown and all that. So our fiscal deficit touched an alarming 9.2%. But then that became par for the course for all the countries of the world because all the countries were on a fiscal stimulus program. So from that 9.2%, the very next year the government declared a fiscal consolidation path, what the finance ministry always describes as the fiscal glide path. And this government has been sticking to that fiscal glide path. In fact, they have done better than that. That is what, in fact, in an article which I wrote in Economic Times just before the budget, I had hoped that the government would use part of the bonanza that they got from the RBI transfers, the dividend, the huge transfers which nobody had expected, including the finance ministry officials when they prepared the interim budget. So we had hoped that a part of this will go into fiscal consolidation, and that is what the finance minister has done. Instead of the 5.1% fiscal deficit target set out in the interim budget, the union budget presented yesterday puts the fiscal deficit target at 4.9%. And the finance minister went on to say that in the next year, FY26, our fiscal deficit will be lower than 4.5%, which was initially targeted. So this is the most important, as an economist, this is the most important merit of this budget. They have stuck to the fiscal deficit part because fiscal deficit consolidation is hugely important. Even for the consumption to pick up, it is important. I will come to that later on. But that is the first point that I wanted to make. Fiscal consolidation is the greatest merit of this budget from the macroeconomic perspective. Now, our economy is in a very sweet spot. For the last 3 years, we have been growing at more than 7%, much higher than 7%, 9.1% in 21-22, after the 5.8% contraction in GDP during the COVID year 2021, followed by 7%. Then last year it was 8.2%, much higher than, substantially higher than some of India's world-renowned economists had predicted. And this year RBI's projection is 7.2%, but the chief economic advisor has been a little bit conservative, taking into consideration the probable geopolitical risks that can erupt at any point of time. So that's why they have conservatively put the growth rate for 24-25 between 6.75% and 7%, which I believe is a conservative estimate. If things go as per the momentum in the economy right now, it is always better to be like Infosys, underperforming and over-delivering. That is good in finance also, public finance also, it is very good. Kerala does the reverse. We over-promise and under-deliver most of the time. That's a different story, I am not going to that. So even though the economy is in a sweet spot, with the best growth rate in the world, our banking system in the pink of health, with best asset quality, improving credit, and the corporate sector very deleveraged, the banking system is in the pink of health. And that is one of the reasons why the Indian corporate sector also is doing well. It was in financial year 2018, our public sector banks incurred a loss of 87,000 crores. Public sector banks alone, after Raghuram Rajan declared the asset quality review, banks had to come out clean, and the banks reported. Public sector banks alone accumulated a loss of 87,000 crores in financial year 18. Last financial year, State Bank of India alone made a profit of more than 61,000 crores. A big turnaround. So the economy is doing very well, and there is growth momentum in the economy. Sustaining this growth rate of 7% is that is very easy now. But then there are some inherent challenges which the economy is facing. There are some inherent problems also from the macroeconomic perspective. I'll just highlight one. Even though the GDP grew by 8.2% last year, I personally believe that the 7.2% GDA, gross value added, is a better measure of GDP growth last year. I'm not going to the details now. So even the GDP growth is excellent, our consumption growth is only 4%. This is a big paradox. GDP growing at 8.2% and consumption in the economy growing only at 4%. The reason is, post-COVID we had a sharp recovery in the economy, sure, but this recovery has been a K-shaped recovery. In the letter K, there is a stroke up and stroke down. Normally economists talk about a sharp V-shaped recovery or an L-shaped stagnation or a W-shaped double dip recession, things like that. This time the economists introduced a new, not a new, they invented this K word and used the word K to describe the economic recovery in India. Economic recovery is happening, the economic recovery is smart, but the recovery is K-shaped, meaning some segments are doing exceedingly well, other segments are doing very poorly. Particularly, if you look at from the stock market perspective, I've been looking at this segments of the economy, industries which cater to the rich, cater to the deep-pocketed people, like most of my friends here. Such segments are doing very well because they have benefited substantially from a large number of things. I'm not going to the details. So if you look at the air travel, demand for sports utility vehicles, premium cars, star hotels, they're doing exceedingly well. But if you look at FMCG, staple consumption, or two-wheelers, and such other products of mass consumption, demand recovery is very, very low. Demand recovery is happening, but it is very slow. So class consumption is doing well, mass consumption is struggling. Therefore, it is very important that if the growth in the economy is to sustain at about 7%, mass consumption also has to pick up. And mass consumption to pick up need the stimulus. And where will the stimulus come from? The best stimulus for growth can come from monetary policy. Monetary stimulus acts very fast without much of a time gap or a gestation or a time lag. Cutting interest rate is the best thing to do to stimulate consumption. When the cost of credit declines, well, investment will pick up, consumption also will pick up. Therefore, the RBI, the central bank, can do a lot, but the central bank always is concerned about the high CPI inflation, which is about 5% now, and they are looking for fiscal discipline. If the government delivers on the fiscal front, the RBI will follow suit. Particularly if the Fed, American Central Bank Fed, cuts interest rates, which is very likely in the September Fed meet, then the RBI also can be expected to cut rates, stimulating consumption. But the other route to stimulating consumption is for the reduction in the taxes of commodities and services, but that is beyond the domain of the finance minister at the central or the state level, because it is a domain of the GST Council. The GST Council that has to cut the taxes on goods and services. So one way to stimulate consumption is through fiscal prudence. And that's why I attach a lot of importance to the fiscal consolidation part. Since the government has delivered, it is now ball is in the court of the RBI to cut rates towards the end of this year. It will enable a stimulation of consumption. So the finance minister has done her part by reducing the customs duty. They have been increasing customs duty in the last several budgets and making the economic policy a little bit more protectionist than what is required. But this budget is a departure from that trend. It is desirable. So the excise duty on large number of products have been, on the customs duty have been cut, and that can that can reflect in the reduced prices for many commodities, not extensively. So these are my observations on the macroeconomic part, macroeconomic dimension. Now let me just come to my favorite area of capital markets. We have experts here who will talk to you on that. I'm not transgressing into the territory of Mr. Krishnan, but then since the capital market is my domain, and I've been in that for more than around 4 decades now, let me very briefly touch upon the important tax recommendations without going into the details. All of us know, this need not be explained, the short-term capital gains tax has been increased from 15% to 20%. That was not expected. Some tweaking of the long-term capital gains was expected, but nobody thought it would be 12.5%. 12.5% is a rationalization because you have 12.5% long-term capital gains tax for many other assets also, like property, real estate, things like that. So this is the second part. Now this marginal increase in long-term capital gains tax is not a big negative. Small short-term capital gains tax, of course, nobody expected it to increase 15%, 20%. It is a negative, but long-term capital gains tax inching from 12.5 to 15%, 10% to 12.5% is not a big negative, particularly since the market has been doing exceedingly well after the crash of the COVID crash. Investors would be only too happy to pay long-term capital gains, and you pay long-term capital gains tax only if you book long-term capital gains, right? If you don't redeem your capital gain, I mean your investment, you don't have to pay tax at all. And I know from experience that there are a large number of investors here in the Investors Club also who do some very smart tax planning, 4 accounts for the family, taking 1 lakh long-term capital gains each, booking it every year and paying no tax on that 4 lakhs of long-term capital gains for 1 year. I know people who are doing it regularly. That is very good tax planning. For such people, if you have got 4 accounts, demat accounts, well, the amount rises to 5 lakhs this time because the threshold has been increased. Exemption for long-term capital gains has been increased to 1.25 lakhs. So this is not a serious issue. And there is this increase in securities transaction tax on F&O trade. I have been writing in favor of that because the F&O trades in India has been going into irrational, I would say lunatic territory, with 90% of the F&O trades in the world are happening in India. 90% of the F&O trades in the world. US has a market cap of around, I think, 52, 53 trillion dollars. Our market cap is around $5 trillion. But our F&O trades are much more than the F&O trades in the US. This is totally irrational. One reason is the explosive growth in the number of demat accounts that has happened post-COVID. In April 2020, the total demat accounts in India was around 4 crores. Now it has crossed 16 crores. This almost 4-fold explosive growth in the demat accounts. It is desirable from the perspective of financialization of savings and more investors coming into the market. It is desirable, but then a large number of retail investors who have come to the market during the last 4 years, they have not seen a bear market. They have never seen a bear market. When there was a 1% decline in Sensex one day, one person called me and said, "Sir, the market crashed." With 1% decline in one day, he describes it as crash, right? So these people are not aware of that. They have not seen a bear market, and they believe that F&O is a segment where you can make quick money. But the fact is, 90% of the traders are losing money. Therefore, it has to be curtailed, and that is the reason why the finance minister has introduced this sharp increase in securities transaction tax. But that is not going to curb the F&O trades big time. I believe more restrictions are going to come on the volume of trade. For instance, SEBI has already put a discussion paper on that, and I expect the SEBI to put the brake on this. It is very much required. Therefore, this sharp increase in the taxes on F&O is not a tax initiative to mobilize more revenue. It is just with the intention of curbing this madness in the F&O market. A very important point, which I am sure Mr. Krishnan will dwell in detail, is this removal of the indexation benefit which we had on the sale of property. For the long-term capital gain stands on a property sale has been reduced from 20% to 12.5%. But then when the indexation benefit goes, well, the difference in tax burden, tax incidence, I believe is very huge. And that is actually a lot of articles and expert opinions have come regarding that. The older the property, the higher may be the tax incidence on those who are selling the property. Mr. Krishnan will throw more light on that. My own impression from the perspective of the capital market is that this will actually discourage investment, not hugely, but at least marginally. Investment in real estate as an asset class is likely to lose its sheen. Because even if you take the real estate appreciation, the price of real estate, if you take the last 14 years, in the period 2010 to 2020, the market was flat without any appreciation at all. The appreciation has started happening in the last 4 years. And the average, if you take the all India level, you take the last 4 years or so, the rate of increase is only 7 to 8%. That is what the experts say. So with this kind of appreciation and with this kind of high taxes on long-term capital gains without the benefit of indexation, that is good news for the stock market. Stock market investors have something to cheer because the attractiveness of real estate as an asset class for investment will, I believe, decline, and the attractiveness of equity as an asset class will increase. That's my only observation regarding that. And there are some other things like this dividend stock buyback. Again, that is in the territory of chartered accountants, therefore I am not going to that. So let me just summarize by telling you something about the state of the market. I have been reading the economic survey and trying to read between the lines when RBI Governor Shaktikananda Das gave an interview to CNBC, and also the views of some of the finance ministry senior officials in their observations. All of them have been expressing their concerns regarding the high valuations in the stock market. I myself have been writing about that. It is a fact that the valuations are elevated. In fact, the Indian stock market is the most expensive stock market in the world now. Our price earning multiple is higher than the price earning multiple in Standard & Poor's, S&P 500 now. There are broadly three parameters to judge valuations. One is the PE ratio, price earning multiple. Second is the market cap to GDP, the so-called Buffett ratio. Warren Buffett gave a lot of importance to that. And third is price to book. The PE ratio, price earning multiple, if you take the long-term average, it is around 18. Now it is 22, much higher than the long-term average. People are claiming that the last 4-year average is 20, but last 4-year average is an aberration because we had this sharp run-up in stock prices. Therefore, our PE ratio is on the higher side. Market cap to GDP, if you take the long-term average, it is 80. It has been 85. Now it is 140, close to 140. GDP is around $3.9 trillion. Market cap is $5 trillion. It will be around 140 on the higher side. And price to book, the long-term average has been 3.5, now it is 3.9. So going by the conservative, traditional parameters of valuation, Indian markets are, I won't say excessively overvalued, There are pockets of excessive valuation, over-valuation, nearing frothy valuation in the broader market, in the mid-cap and the small-cap space. There is overvaluation, excessive overvaluation. For some stocks, people are saying, oh, this is in a segment in which the growth prospects are very bright. They got orders from the government, orders from this, orders from that. But the profitability for the next 5 years have already been discounted by the market. The price earning multiple of some of the stocks in the mid-cap space is around 80, 85, 90, 92, including some Kerala companies. So these are frothy valuations. And one has to be concerned about that. But if you look at the large cap space, valuations are reasonable, particularly if you talk about focus on the financials, the valuations are very fair now, even investable, even though the segment has not been doing well during recent times. Therefore, we have to be concerned about valuations. We don't have to be concerned about the tax incidence, because the tax part is not going to bite us severely, particularly when seen in the context of the excellent returns that we had during the last 4 years. We should not be bothered too much about the taxation part. We should be looking at the valuation part, and it makes sense to remain invested in the market, because in the bull market, it always makes sense to invest. I remember during the mother of all bull markets which we had during 2003 to early 2008, in May 2003, Sensex was around 3,200. By early 2008, by December 2007, Sensex crossed the 20,000. And during this phase, which took the Sensex from 3,200 to 20,000. Experts have been warning about high valuations. And experts have been warning about frothy valuations. At Sensex levels of 12,000, 13,000, 14,000, 15,000. They were proved wrong. But then we had the big crash. And the market cap to GDP in 2007, late 2007 to early 2008, just before the global financial crisis, market cap to GDP was lower than what it is today. So we have to be a little bit concerned about the valuations, but in the bull market it always makes sense to remain invested. There is no doubt that India is the best growth story among the large economies of the world. And among the emerging market, India has the best growth story. There is absolutely no doubt about that. There is a great possibility, very high possibility that we can be an $8 trillion economy. We do not do wonders for that. If we can grow at the rate at which we have been growing during the last 2 decades or 3 decades, we will be an $8 trillion economy by 2032. It's only 8 years from now. And $8 trillion economy can have a $10 trillion market cap. Now this $5 trillion market cap, it can double to $10 trillion market cap. The point is, the wealth creation that has happened in the Indian stock market, through the stock market, during the last several years, since independence, 75 years, it is going to happen in the next 8 years. That is for sure. That will happen. But the journey will not be smooth. It can be a roller coaster, right? Stock market journey, as we know, is not a very smooth journey. But then the patience is what matters in the long run. As the saying goes, to make a fortune in the stock market, you need only an average person's intelligence, which all of us have, but 10% patience, which very few people have. So I believe we are in a vantage point in India's economic history, where the economy is on the cusp of a takeoff, and wealth creation to the stock market will certainly happen. So remain invested, try to invest systematically, buy on dips, and be concerned about valuations in the market. After the panel discussion is over, and if you have some doubts, and if I know the answers, I would be glad to share that. Thank you very much. Thank you for this session.
Thank you, Dr. V.K. Vijaykumar, for your insightful analysis. Q&A session will be after the completion of all sessions. Moving on to the next session, taxation reforms announced in the Union Budget 2024. It will be taken by Senior Chartered Accountant C.A.R. Krishnan. For the opening remarks and to introduce the speaker, I invite C.S. Lini C.T., Chairperson of the ICSI Thrissur Chapter.
Good evening all. I'm privileged to be here for this second session of this seminar and would like to convey my gratitude to C.A. Anubi Francis, Chairman of Thrissur Chapter of ICI, C. Anantharaman, President of TMA, Sri Sajeev Mandala, President of Chamber of Commerce, and the President of Investors Club, Sri Hamlet C. Paul. And I wish this collaboration and the shared knowledge to be stronger for navigating the financial landscapes and that shape our corporate endeavors. And also I would like to acknowledge our distinguished speakers of the day, Sri Dr. V.K. Vijaykumar, C.R. Krishnan, and Sri T.C. Matthew. We are waiting for your expertise and insights and the impact of the budget on the corporate strategies and the government practices and also the economic outlooks. Already we have got the knowledge from V.K. Vijaykumar sir. We have shared all the things about the impact of the budget on the economic as a large. And this time the interim budget earlier this year seemed uneventful, but today we are faced with a multitude of topics and worthy of explorations. So in the second session we are going to have on the tax reforms. In the budget, as we know, it brings a lot of changes regarding the income tax slabs, including the standard deductions, and for the startups with the evasion of the angel tax. And with regard to the capital gain, a lot of changes have been came with the indexations and which have a longer impact on the share market as well as the real estate. So I know you are eager to hear from the expert. We have C.A.R. Krishnan. He is a partner of MS Venkamani & Co. Chartered Accountants, one of the pioneer firms in the state of Kerala. He was the chairman of Alapi branch of ICI and he is the president of Alapi Management Association and the joint secretary of Income Tax Appellate Tribunal Bar Association, Kochi. And he also past chairman of Thrissur Chamber of Commerce. And I would encourage all of us to engage actively and share your insights and with the question answer sessions. And thank you once again. I look forward for the continuing and enriching, insightful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, C.S. Lini. We now move on to the technical session presented by C.A.R. Krishnan, Senior Partner at Messrs. Rangamani. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lini, for that kind introduction. CNO, Chairman of ICA Thrissur branch. My co-speakers, Dr. Vijay Kumar and Sri T.C. Matthew, other distinguished leaders of various organizations, fellow members in profession, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great pleasure coming back to Thrissur, meeting old friends. You know, today, as chartered accountants, we are living in a faceless region. So these are the faces which we get to see when we visit branches. So that apart, I think I equate this program to the great budget speeches I used to attend as a student when Sri Nani Palkiwala used to give a budget speech at Chennai, and we used to go and listen to that speech long back when during our college days and student days. So many organizations coming together, and doing it purposefully. I think I should compliment and congratulate all of you for this effort continuously for several years. I must thank Anup and team for having given me an opportunity to come here and share my thoughts on direct taxes. When Anup followed by Satish, Satish called me, as Dr. Vijay Kumar said, these days you don't find so many amendments under the Income Tax Act, especially under the direct tax. So to deliver a analysis of direct taxes provision the next day after the budget is presented is something a little risky, because you don't have time to go through the various provisions. But the advantage we have as compared to earlier regime is next day morning earlier on we had to wait for the finance bill, but today within the next 2 or 3 minutes I think all papers are available with you for you to have a look at what is being presented, and of course all the media is focusing on various amendments or various provisions that have been introduced. Friends, I don't know what I would describe this as far as the direct taxes provisions are concerned. There are so many welcome provisions if you look at the bill as a whole, finance bill as a whole. Rationalization of so many provisions, especially, today, to be frank, at least I am not sure about what my fellow members will have to share with me. I am totally confused about the TDS rates, the provisions, like at Income Tax Act, things have changed totally. And the spread of TDS, especially TDS, suddenly you talk about 194, N, M, N, K, J, it is going on, I think it will go after Z also. And suddenly there is 0.1% somewhere, 0.5% somewhere, and 10% somewhere, 5% somewhere. And every time you have to refer to the Act to give a reply to your client or somebody who is asking a question on a particular provision. This is not the case when probably we started our practice, where things were quite stable and we were very sure of what the provisions are and what the tax deduction rates are or where. But then one thing that probably this sort of a miserable feeling which many of us were having in profession, I think the minister herself has had. We find a lot of rationalization that has taken place, lot of welcome amendments that have come into that. But having said that, I still feel that as far as handling of tax provisions in a budget, which is very eagerly awaited by the citizens of the country, especially the middle class, where they look for some sops, some tax reliefs here and there. Over the years, year after year, I find, this is a sort of a Tughlaq regime that is happening. When I talk about Tughlaq regime, when somebody who, for those who are not aware of, there is a famous person who by name Tughlaq was ruling, and Tughlaq regime was such that he himself did not know, the ruler did not know what was doing, things were happening as in it. Suddenly he will say you do this, and then suddenly he will say you don't do this. And then again it will be restored. Why I am saying that, I am not blaming it, or I am not, maybe I am not demeaning any of, because it is a great effort taken by finance ministers of the country. But 2-3 provisions, I will give you examples in the near past that has happened. One is, we'll just come back here again, we had a concept of a block assessment covering search cases. When search was taking place, 10 years block was taken, later on it was reduced to 6 years. And all the material, undisclosed income that was found as a result of search was being assessed in that block period. It went on for about 10 years. And what the department did, what the mistake that the department did was, they taxed what should have been taxed in the block assessment and the regular assessment. Regular assessment ran parallelly along with the block assessment. So they interchanged and taxed everything, and finally courts started striking down, and most of the decisions were rendered in favor of the applicant, of the assessee. Suddenly government said that this block assessment is bad. They removed the block assessment and then brought in 153A to C, which is again getting settling down. Suddenly they said, no, we don't want that 147, it will go under the regular 147, and they brought the search under 147. And now they are saying that the field staff said that it is impracticable to impose 147. And what were these people doing? Should the field staff, after 3 years or 5 years of implementation of a section, again now they are going back to block system? Now this is why I compare this with the Tukla region, because you don't allow things to settle down. The same thing with provisions of section 271 1C on concealment of income. If you remember, for all matters penalty was being levied. Subsequently, people started understanding what is concealment, what is furnishing of inaccurate particulars, what should be done, what should not be done. Suddenly 270 is scrapped and 270A comes. Under-reporting, misreporting. And now again, the new budget they are bringing in penalty again back to search assessment is not called, 270A will not apply for search assessment. So where are we going? Again, I see somebody who is doing business, we should be certain of what are the taxes he's doing. Even if he does a misdeed, what is the penalty that there will be certainty on all the things that are being put on paper. And many of the amendments today, this year also, are to negate the judicial pronouncements. That is something quite intriguing for me, because this is not what the intention of the legislature is. I don't know, a provision that has been in existence not at the time when this government was there, when this finance minister was there. Some provision has come into the statute. Now how do you know what is the intention of that finance minister? But courts interpreted that provision in a particular way. So there are several provisions like that which are negate court decisions also, negate judicial pronouncements. I think that is not good in a progressive country, because when you go forward, you should respect the verdict of the court. When you have some law in place, I think you should allow that law to settle down, fine-tune those sections and correct your mistakes, so that there is a longevity for the sections and the law and people understand it and they are comfortable with this. Now, with this initial background, I think within this 20 minutes, I don't think I will be able to do justice to all the amendments that have been brought in, because quite a few. But I'll try to briefly touch upon what can be done, or what at least those important provisions. If I knew the answer of what Dr. Vijay Kumar was asking, why this indexation was removed, I think I finished my speech in 5 minutes. I myself am wondering why this was removed. Indexation was something, I think, at least a little solace that was being given. And why is this indexation, first of all? If you look at indexation that was being given, having regard to the inflation, what 10 rupees could buy 30 years back, there was a fair market value fixed on a particular day, and then from there index probably get 3.5 times, which again it is pittance considering the real estate prices that have gone up over the last decade and a half. Because most of the purchases would have been at a very lower price, and those days you had this habit of keeping everything outside the document also. And index at that point, index from there, where would you reach? At least some solace a taxpayer was having. And in addition to that, probably an investment in 54 EC or somewhere it gains, saves some capital. After a property is a lifetime investment as far as an individual taxpayer. If you look at an individual taxpayer, that is what you have to analyze it. But again, we have to wait and see why that has been done. Probably the budget only says, I think on that part, if you look at the memorandum explaining the bill, it simply says, simultaneously with the rationalization of the rate of 12.5, indexation available under second proviso of the section 48 is proposed to be removed. For calculation of any long-term capital gains which is presently available for property, gold and other unlisted assets, this will ease computation of capital gains for the taxpayer and tax administration. According to me, it was the easiest way that we could calculate, because just multiply with the calculator what the cost is into the capital gains index number, I don't know how it is going to ease, how it was difficult in the first attempt itself, I am not aware, for it to make it ease now. Now, having said that, I will start with the standard deduction. Everybody was happy, standard deduction has been increased from 50 to 75,000. It comes with a catch. Only if you opt for 115 BSc under the new regime, it is available. So there is a proviso which says that only for those people, so everybody is being shifted to the new regime. And that yesterday, those of you who have listened to the finance minister's speech post budget presentation, very clearly they are saying that they are not kept the line. Some press person asked, what is the deadline by which you are going to remove the old scheme? They said no, but there is a large acceptance as far as the public is concerned, because more than 60% of the people are opting for the new scheme. So gradually we are shifting into the new regime only, and probably that is correct also, because we ourselves are conveying the greatest confusion to me as a chartered accountant today. Somebody called and asked, "Sir, I have a scheme account." How do I know? Because it's income, and that was the advanced tax stage. I will never be able to answer that question. And he thinks I am an expert to answer and give him a solution that will save him some tax. And it's a total confusion, because until you arrive at the total income, you will not be able to understand what is benefit and what he is going to invest in the year totally. And added to that, in the portal, opting out, opting in, last year you don't file the return on time, then this year you file, it is not being accepted. Total confusion, let me tell you, with these two schemes in place. One scheme with no further attachment of your option and all those things. There is only one scheme, there is a question of opting does not arise at all. Now that is as far as standard deduction and family pension. Both for family pension also you have to come under the new scheme. So it has been increased from 15,000 to 25,000. And then similarly, non-government contribution to pension scheme that has been raised from 10% to 14%. Now another interesting thing, if you have gone through the memorandum explaining the bill, in page 6, there are at least 2-3 provisions quite unjustified according to me. Like there is a table with regard to nature of capital gains to non-residents, the rates have been prescribed and it is effective from today. There are at least 2-3 provisions which are normally you are given some time with effect from 110, when an interim budget is prepared, mostly it will come from 110 or something like that. Some 2-3 months for everybody to prepare. For example, a non-resident, you are entering into a transaction with a non-resident yesterday, TDS everything is paid, today is the registration fixed, gone, rate is gone. And only the bill has been presented. Of course, when it becomes an act, you will get a retrospective effect from the date from which it has been presented, as it is mentioned in the bill. So that is one thing with regard to capital gains and all these provisions with regard to non-residents. It is coming into effect from 23rd of July. In fact, not even today, from yesterday itself, 23rd of July 2024, the new rates will apply. Now for the new slabs, I am not going into that. There is an extension of that slab, new one. And to me, and as all of you know, today, I think the economy is totally changing. Even the minister was talking about somebody earning a salary of 1 lakh per month. And somebody earning at 1 lakh or 1.5 lakhs per month, I think the new scheme will never be, beyond a certain income, this scheme may not be helpful. So, and it also, I don't know, somehow or other, I felt that, lot of people who were otherwise spendthrifts were saving money through compulsory tax savings. The small savings, tax savings, and indirectly it was providing employment. I still remember, even when I was a small person, somebody used to come and collect for NSC and other things from me. So whenever I used to get 2,000 or 3,000 initial stages of my career, I used to give it then, not because I wanted to save that or something, but somebody else was making 1% or 2%, it was leaking and leaking out of it. So that concept is completely gone with regard to savings. Now going forward, I did mention about simplification with regard to search assessments. Searches conducted after 1st September 2014, 24. 1st September 24 will come under the new provisions of a block assessment, and tax shall be charged, and only the relevant provisions and tax shall be charged is 60% of the block period as per 113. Tax under this section shall be increased by a surcharge if any which may be levied by the central government. However, presently no surcharge is proposed for income tax chargeable for the block period. No interest under 234 ABC is proposed. But however, the next clause says that penalty on the undisclosed income of the block period as determined by the assessing officer shall be levied at 50% of the tax payable. So on one hand you give a stop by not charging interest under 234A, but you take 50% penalty of the undisclosed income. And again, one more new provision, an exclusion of 6 months shall be available in respect of the period from the date of search to the date of handing over the seized material to the assessing officer. So all these are arising out of litigation, judicial pronouncements which have been held in favor of the assessee. So these provisions have been brought to negate those judicial pronouncements. Then time limit for filing of appeal to the tribunal, now that online system has come, earlier on commissioner's order received by the principal commissioner or the chief commissioner 60 days from that day. Now they have brought in a provision which says that amendment with effect from 1st of October, subsection 3 of 253 to provide that the appeal before the IDA may be filed within 2 months from the end of the month in which the order sought to be appealed against was communicated to the assessee. So that means end of the month in which that order is passed by the commissioner. That is because it is uploaded now, the sanctity of being received by the commissioner is lost now. Charitable trust, a lot of small amendments are there in charitable trust, but the sum and substance is that they are linking 1023C and section 12. 11, 12 will be linked together. You have a very small window for renewal of 1023C if it falls within the period up to 30th of September. From 1st October onwards, all renewal will go under section 11 and 12 only. 1023 will be slowly out of the statute. Now coming to capital gains tax, there will be 2 holding periods now, 12 months and 24 months for determining whether it is short term or long term. For all listed securities, the holding period is proposed to be 12 months, and for all other assets, it shall be 24 months. Holding period for bonds, debentures, etc. will reduce from 36 months to 24 months. For unlisted shares and immovable property, it will remain at 24 months. So there are only 2. These are all welcome because different levels of holding period is actually causing a lot of confusion. Then the rate for short-term capital gains, as pointed out by Dr. Vijay Kumar, I think it has been increased from 15% to 20% with regard to short-term capital gains. And of course, now we come to the rationale of 12.5% on long-term capital gains without indexation. Now if you look at it, I think one rationale probably which I could probably read or imagine what could have been in the mind of the think tankers was that, if you look at the index average rate of a capital gains, it is somewhere between 10 to 15%, even though the tax rate was effectively 20% for capital gains on long term. After indexation and claiming unless you claim exorbitantly your cost of improvement, I think it all stood somewhere between 10 to 15%. That was the average rate that one could find as far as the indexed capital gain is concerned. So probably that could have been a base for fixing it and removing the indexation. But having said in favor of indexation, I think one major factor that would have made the government to remove indexation was the fact that there is no mechanism by which the government could fix, especially in cases of fair market value as on 1/4/2001, which we were claiming. Mostly we used to go to the Pearl site or try to find out a document as to what would be the fair market value of a property that is acquired before 1/4/2001. And then at that document probably would not be a comparable document to the property that you are actually selling. And there is no mechanism by which the government could check whether the documents, I mean, most of the cases are being accepted. So given that revenue loss that is happening there, they thought it would be best to remove the indexation. Now, you have only two things, because otherwise you will go into litigation also. I will show a property which I am related, but which does not have any comparison to my property which I have sold. And then, if it is picked up for scrutiny, then, the officer has to verify and prove that I was wrong. But now that position is completely gone. There will be a purchase price and there will be an indexation. I mean, indexation is not the difference, same price will be there. So, could be a reason because, incapability of the department to verify. So that, you sacrifice something that, that revenue loss is there and fix it up at somewhere in between. That could be one of the rationales. I'm not very sure because memorandum explaining the bill is also not very clear about that. Now, somebody is mentioning about the impact of this on your real estate transactions. I'm not very sure that any such provision would impact the real estate per se, because today if you look at it, somebody sells a property because he wants to sell it, I get a good price, I sell it, or I am in need of money, I sell it. Nobody holds a property because there is a tax on that, or I am not getting any indexation because I am not selling this, I am not getting any indexation. I don't think that, maybe very minuscule people may be on that lines. So that is another one area where so impact on the economy or the real estate sector may not be much as well just because of this amendment. It could be for other reasons, because one reason now I find is most of the transactions that are happening are at least of a magnitude, because of cash transactions, there is a heavy curve on cash transactions. So nobody wants to take a risk, and nobody has got that money where you can invest such a lot of money in that property. So that could be one of the reasons, and I don't think that there is any impact. So I touched about the rationalization of the tax rates, which is next. Tax deducted source. Almost all of them have come at 1%, and very welcome for e-commerce. It has been reduced to 0.1 from 1%. So that is again a very welcome amendment, I would say. And then going forward, these are very credit for TDS claim in the hands of the minor that not being given earlier on. So those are all amendments which have been useful or to get over difficulties. One worrying factor again is the TDS on remuneration and interest to partners. That is a draconian provision according to me, because courts have been consistently holding that as far as a partnership is concerned, it is only for the purpose of taxation that there are two entities. Otherwise, what is a partnership? It's a compendium of partners. So there cannot be an independent existence for a partnership firm without the partners. So technically looking at all the amounts that you are going to pay to a partnership firm would be a payment to self. Because partners are nothing but a compendium or a collection of people who otherwise are the owners of the firm. Now, the only drawback which we see, I think yesterday, even yesterday evening itself, tax planning has started on that. Now, somebody is saying in Bombay, now there is a resolution passed on a quarterly basis. To your TDS, when you are filing your TDS return, has to arrive at the profit, how much remuneration should be paid, and then you pay the remuneration on that basis. So, quarterly pass the determination of remuneration will now be on a quarterly basis instead of an annual basis as we used to do. Of course, any amendment that will severely affect, definitely on the other side, there will be some way out that our professionals will also will find. But then, I don't know why the rationale is, I mean, in many cases, if you look at it, 75% of the firms are covered under tax audit. Or I'll put it a little less. 60% of the firms are covered under tax audit. And there is a clear reporting by the auditor as to the remuneration paid to the partners. And there is no question of any escapement of income. After what, why TDS is there in the statute? TDS is there in the statute because the government wants to keep a track of a transaction that is happening. Number one, very simple. They are doing Marwadi business, collect your tax in advance. Government collects the tax in advance because otherwise at the end of the year, you have to wait till the end of the year. So by TDS, one is you get a track of what is happening, the trail of the transaction. And number two, there is a earn as you pay. That concept of your advance tax is also covered by TDS. The government's funding, you cannot say government cannot run on bank guarantees. So government will need money. So as you earn, keep on paying. That is the concept of that. Where is the question of escapement in respect of an interest and remuneration to the partner? So it defeats the whole purpose for which TDS is there. And very sad to say that as far as that part is concerned, at least 2-3 areas or in the finance bill also you will find that, on the memorandum explaining, that many of the provisions have been introduced because the affluent people are making money. The richer are making more money. So this provision is to curb that. I don't think that's a good practice because if he's earning money, it's out of his hard work, he's paying tax on that. And why the government need not crib on that? But ultimately what they're trying to do that is at the expense of somebody else. I don't think that is correct. Many of the provisions that are in India, even yesterday the finance minister's speech also, she kept saying, or post budget speech, she said that affluent are making more money, that is why this provision has been introduced. So that one thing, that TDS provision is very harsh. I don't know, probably rollback or something may, I don't know, nothing is being rolled back now, so we cannot do anything on that. Then tax on buyback of shares. I was just discussing with our Dr. Vijay Kumar before we came in. Impractical. Let me tell you, you have to carry forward. There is a loss in income, you pay tax on the entire receipts, and whatever is going to be the cost for you, carry for and look forward for your sale next. What to say doesn't happen later on. Carrying forward anything is something that is, both for the government and the taxpayer, it is not going to do anything. That is a normal procedure that should have been adopted. So that one thing I know, it works like this, you want the buyback, you pay tax immediately, and the cost part is actually staggered for further sale later on. Of course, securities transaction tax, because of the buoyancy, that's a medium by which, for all the sacrifices that the government itself is candid to admit, because for all the sacrifices that they are making in the form of tax concession, I think this is one area from this revenue that they are anticipating. Now, there are some amendments that are being notified for section 147 also. The TDS on sale of immovable property, thanks to our gimmicks that we were showing, because two different holders will say less than 50%, each put together, individually it is not more than 50%. So we were saying that TDS is not applicable. Courts have also been supporting us in some of the cases. Now the government has made it clear, either the seller or the buyer, if it is a joint property, property will be treated as one, and then if combined together it is more than 50 lakhs, then provisions of TDS will apply. Now I come to Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Again, I go back to the booklet. One I forgot when I talked about this. Vivad Se Vishwas, what happened? I was totally confused, and Vivad Se Vishwas came very happy because a lot of litigations will come down. And a lot of associates benefited also. Especially penalty, you pay 25% and get away with it. Sometimes 271B and all, you have to take a chance. There is no scope for a case also. And then 271C, 100% it is concealment. But fortunately, it gets filed in appeal because Asi would not pay the tax. We took the advantage of the scheme. Now, on one hand, you bring in Vivad Se Vishwas and say that the whole Vivasa Vishwas is there because there are a lot of litigation spending. I want to bring down litigation. Fine, accepted. On the other hand, you invent something like faceless assessment schemes where at least 4 times appeals that you have brought down under Vivasa Vishwas has gone down. Because half your notices are not being served. It is not going to the email ID or people have not seen it, people have not responded. The number of assessments, ex-party assessments that have been passed in faceless assessment is something mind-boggling. So it negates the effect of bringing in Vivasa Vishwas. Now again going back 4 years down the line, FM says still that number of appeals. They have deployed so many people. Even in this budget, she says that further people are going to be deployed. There are JC appeals deployed now to dispose of appeals because the litigation litigation number is just mind-boggling. This is the scenario on one side. Now again you come back to the another Vivasa Vishwas. Now what signal it is going to send to everybody? We think that it happened in my case because in one of the cases a person was searched. Connected search party came to me. So I had to go, it's a case, simple case, capital case on money payment. My client who came to me received money. The other person admitted, evidence found as a result of search in the other place. I had no other option but to admit. So I told the DDA, sir, at least give me a relief from penalty because I pay the taxes. Very clearly to Krishnan. I will not ask them to levy penalty, but I cannot recommend them to drop penalty in my appraisal report. You have to try your luck with the assessing officer. So I went to the assessing officer and told him, sir, return income, whatever you have said, I have accepted that. There is also a disclosure, conditional disclosure saying that subject to penalty. He very clearly, rightly said that there is no conditional assessment under income tax. Agreed. He levied penalty. And penalty is, luckily, it was under-reporting and it should have been misreporting, but wrongly classified as under-reporting. So I escaped with 50% instead of 200%. I told him 3 days back, this happened 3 days back. He said, what are you going to do? Because return income is accepted, you can't, the assessment you could have filed an appeal. Sir, I can't file an appeal because there is no variation in the income. Incidentally, I told him, sir, penalty I will file an appeal and see. Some Vivasa Vishwas scheme will come, I don't know. Who knows, any scheme will come like that. But I am not coming under the scheme because the order was passed on, our order was passed on 21st, but received by me yesterday. But at least yesterday I would have seen it, I should have filed an appeal yesterday because it was open. All appeals that are filed till 23rd are eligible for this. So now, again, if you go back to the old scheme, like in the settlement commission, courts have interfered and said that ready for filing before the settlement commission will also be covered under the IBS scheme. So like that, now I have to try for luck for my client saying that this order was received, but the finance bill came next day. So I may be given permitted an opportunity. So I have to go to a writ petition and try the High Court, try my luck to the High Court. Now what I am trying to say is, now going forward here, I will also go under litigation because I will keep everything live. So that I hope that something is going to come like this. If you are going to bring a Vivasa Vishwas once in 4 years, actually it suits me because whatever I have missed there, whatever subsequent litigations have come, it will bring down the litigation. But I don't know, progressively if you go look at the economy, I am not sure whether it is right or wrong. And now another welcome feature is the CAT appeals have been given a power to set aside the assessment. It was not there. Now that has been brought into the statute. Then penalty with regard to the TDS, other items are all little relaxed. Like penalty for furnishing of statements, if it is delayed and you pay the taxes before the due date for filing of the statement. Now, compounding for TDS is very harsh. So all those are brought down. I think these are the broader amendments. I think I have exceeded my time. I once again thank the Thrissur branch and all the hosts for having given me an opportunity to share my thoughts on what I could gather on this finance bill with regard to the direct taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, C.R. Krishnan, for your comprehensive analysis. Our next session is the budget overview, which will be taken by Shri T.C. Matthew, Senior Financial Journalist. I invite Shri Sajeev Manila, President of the Chamber of Commerce, Thrissur, for his opening remarks and to introduce the speaker.
Distinguished speakers of the day, Dr. D.K. Vijay Kumar, CA, R. Krishnan, Sri T.C. Matthew, dignitaries on and off the dais, dear friends and ladies and gentlemen. We all know that this budget is a continuity of the old budget of the finance minister, except for minor changes like allocating some additional funds for Bihar and Andhra. And we also know that our GDP growth is the highest in the world, and all the states are doing good. But from the Chamber of Commerce perspective, in Kerala, small traders and micro and small enterprises are not doing good. I came to know that there's a sales dip is around 20 to 30%, and demand is less. A basic reason is we all know that business never dies, but business models. Here, the basic reason for the downfall of the small traders is basically the online trading traders like Amazon, Flipkart, one side, and offline stores of the corporates like Tata and Reliance. In Thrissur itself, we can know that around 5 studios are there who sells the ready-made garments. Earlier they were in the Taiwan cities, now they are percolating to Type 2 and Type 3, they have started to percolate. So small players find it very difficult to compete with these players. And now the small traders, they find it very difficult to change the model. But big players can change the models, but small players find it very difficult to change their models. And we feel that government is neglecting this segment, because we suggested to put some cess on online, on the interstate online trade, some cess to put so that says the people can survive, the small traders can survive. But unfortunately, to my understanding, that cess 1% is brought down to some 0.01%. And whatever the PLI scheme and Mudra loans, which all the big players used to get, but it's never going to percolate to the down the line of the small players. So we are also taking this issue to DIC to see that all the small micro and macro enterprises get this benefit so that they can compete in the market. Because we can see that from the Kerala government side, we have a lot of pressure because minimum wages is highest side here. And traders, they insisted each shop should have a separate toilet facility for gents and ladies. Because many of the shops, doesn't have the facility for their own facilities for the single toilet. But their insistence is still harassment is there one side. But let's hope for the best. Because I know that you are eagerly waiting to hear from the T.C. Matthew, the senior financial journalist. So let me come down to my present task of introducing the panelist, T.C. Matthew. T.C. Matthew is a veteran journalist of 47 years. He joined the DBA Daily as a sub-editor in 1977 and retired as a senior associate editor in 2020. Worked in Kottayam, Kochi, Thrissur and Kannur office of the Deepika. He functioned as an editor of Business Deepika, a premier business and financial weekly in Malayalam for 13 years from his inspection in 1992. With these few words, I formally introduce our speaker, T.C. Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Sachin Manila. Now over to Shri T.C. Matthew, senior financial journalist, for his views on the budget.
I know dear Francis, chairperson, the short branch of ICAI. President TMA, Sri T.R. Anandaraman, Dr. Vijay Kumar sir, Sri R. Krishnan sir, Sri Hamlet C. Paul, President Investors Club Thrissur, Vini C.T., Chairperson ICSI, Thrissur Chapter, Sri Sajeev Manila, President Chamber of Commerce Thrissur, Sri Ajit Kaimal, Secretary TMA, and all very distinguished guests and audience. ഇങ്ങനെയൊരു പ്രൗഢ സദസ്സിന് മുമ്പിൽ, അതും പ്രൊഫഷണലുകൾ തിങ്ങി നിറഞ്ഞ ഒരു സദസ്സിന് മുമ്പിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു വിഷയം അവതരിപ്പിക്കുവാൻ എന്നെ ക്ഷണിച്ച് അവസരം നൽകിയതിന് ഇതിന്റെ സംഘാടകർക്ക് ഞാൻ ആദ്യമേ നന്ദിയായിരുന്നു. ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് അറിയാൻ മേലാഞ്ഞിട്ടല്ല, പക്ഷെ എൻ്റെ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാൻ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടായതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് അറിയാവുന്ന ഭാഷയിൽ കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞു ഫലിപ്പിക്കാമെന്ന് കരുതിയത്. നമ്മുടെ ആശയങ്ങൾ എളുപ്പം പറയാൻ എനിക്ക് സൗകര്യം മലയാളമാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ആ സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ ഈ ബജറ്റിൻ്റെ സുപ്രധാനമായ 2 വർഷങ്ങളെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് വളരെ വിദഗ്ധരായ ആൾക്കാർ നമ്മളെ ബോധവൽക്കരിച്ചു. ഇതിൻ്റെ മാക്രോ ഇക്കണോമിക് പശ്ചാത്തലവും ആ പശ്ചാത്തലത്തിൻ്റെ ഇനിയുള്ള പുരോഗതിയും എന്തായിരിക്കും എന്നുള്ളതിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് വിജയകുമാർ സാർ വളരെ ഭംഗിയായിട്ട് പ്രതിപാദിച്ചു. അത്യാവശ്യം നികുതി കാര്യങ്ങളെ സംബന്ധിച്ചും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാൻ സാധിച്ചു. കൃഷ്ണൻ സാർ തൻ്റെ ദീർഘകാലത്തെ പരിചയത്തിൻ്റെയും അനുഭവത്തിൻ്റെയും എല്ലാം വെളിച്ചത്തിൽ വളരെ വിശദമായിട്ട് ഫിനാൻസ് ബില്ലിലെ സുപ്രധാന ഭാഗങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് വിശദീകരിച്ചു തന്നു. ഇവിടെ ഈ യോഗ ആരംഭിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് കണ്ട പലരും പല സംശയങ്ങളും ഒക്കെ പരസ്പരം പങ്കുവെക്കുന്നത് കേൾക്കാമായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പോൾ അതിലൊരു 95% തീർന്നു കാണും എന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ വിവരണം അത്രമാത്രം വിജ്ഞാനദായകമായിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഈ ബജറ്റിനെ അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു മാനുഷിക പശ്ചാത്തലത്തിലും കൂടി കാണുന്നത് ഉചിതമായിരിക്കും എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ കരുതുന്നത്. പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും വിജയകുമാർ സാർ പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ തന്നെ നേരത്തെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന രാഷ്ട്രീയ അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിന് വലിയ മാറ്റം ഇവിടുത്തെ സാധാരണക്കാര് വരുത്തി കൊടുത്തപ്പോൾ, അപ്പോൾ ഭരണത്തിന്റെ പല തലങ്ങളിലും ആ മാറ്റം വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഭരണത്തിന്റെ സ്വഭാവത്തിൽ ചെറിയ തോതിലുള്ള മാറ്റങ്ങൾ കാണുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോൾ ബജറ്റിന്റെ സ്വഭാവത്തിൽ തന്നെ വളരെയേറെ മാറ്റങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടു. ഏതാനും മാസം മുമ്പ് ഇടക്കാല ബജറ്റ് അവതരിപ്പിച്ചപ്പോൾ ഉദ്ധരിക്കപ്പെട്ട പല പദങ്ങളും പ്രയോഗങ്ങളും ഒന്നും ഇത്തവണത്തെ ബജറ്റിൽ കേട്ടില്ല. അതിൽ നിന്ന് വളരെ മയപ്പെട്ട ഒരു സമീപനത്തിലാണ് തന്റെ ഗവൺമെന്റിനെ പറ്റി പോലും ധനമന്ത്രി പറഞ്ഞത്. നരേന്ദ്രമോദിജിയുടെ പേര് ആകെ ഒരു തവണ മാത്രമാണ് ഈ ബജറ്റ് പ്രസംഗത്തിൽ 1.5 മണിക്കൂർ നീണ്ടുവന്ന ഒരു ഹ്രസ്വമായ ആ പ്രസംഗത്തിൽ പരാമർശിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. അതിന്റെ രാഷ്ട്രീയത്തിലേക്കൊന്നും കിടക്കുന്നില്ല. പക്ഷെ ആ രാഷ്ട്രീയ സാഹചര്യം ഉണ്ടാക്കിക്കൊടുത്ത ജനങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു വശത്തേക്കാണ് ഞാൻ പോകുന്നത്. അവരുടെ ഒരു വശം തൊഴിലാണ് എന്നുള്ളത് ഗവൺമെന്റ് കണ്ടെത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഗവൺമെന്റിനെ വിമർശിക്കുന്നവരും കണ്ടെത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ജനങ്ങൾക്കത് നേരത്തെ അറിയാമായിരുന്നതാണ്. ജനങ്ങൾക്കത് നേരത്തെ അറിയാമായിരുന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവർ തൊഴിൽ സംബന്ധിച്ചുള്ള പല വാഗ്ദാനങ്ങളും വിശ്വസിക്കാതെ മുന്നോട്ട് പോയത്. അതിലെ യുവാക്കൾക്ക് കാര്യം അറിയാം. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവർ ഈ പറയുന്ന വാഗ്ദാനങ്ങളൊന്നും കാത്തിരിക്കാതെ ഈ നാട് വിടാൻ പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ തൊഴിലൊരു പ്രധാന പ്രശ്നമാണ് എന്ന് പറയുകയും നമ്മുടെ പുതിയ ബജറ്റിന്റെ ഏതാണ്ട് 20% സ്ഥലം തൊഴിൽ സംബന്ധമായ കാര്യങ്ങൾ വിശദീകരിക്കാൻ ഉപയോഗിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ബജറ്റ് പ്രസംഗത്തിന്റെ 10-12 ഖണ്ഡികകൾ അതിനു വേണ്ടിയിട്ടായിരുന്നു. ബജറ്റ് പ്രസംഗത്തിന്റെ അനക്ഷറിൽ കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന കുറേയേറെ പേജുകൾ അതിനു വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നീക്കി വെച്ചത്. ഇവിടെ തൊഴിൽ കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത് ആവശ്യമാണ് എന്ന് കണ്ടെത്തി. ഇവിടെ തൊഴിൽ വളരെ കൂടുതൽ ഉണ്ടാക്കിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് എന്ന് അവകാശപ്പെടുന്ന ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട് എന്നുള്ളത് ഞാൻ തള്ളിക്കളയുന്നില്ല. ഇപ്പോൾ IMF-ന്റെ പ്രതിനിധിയായിരിക്കുന്ന KV സുബ്രഹ്മണ്യൻ ഇന്നും അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു പ്രധാന പത്രത്തിൽ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. നമ്മൾ കഴിഞ്ഞ ഇത്ര കാലത്തിനുള്ളിൽ 12.9 കോടി തൊഴിലുണ്ടാക്കി അതിന് ഒരു 3-3.5 കോടി കാർഷിക മേഖലയിലേക്കാണ് തള്ളിക്കളഞ്ഞാൽ പോലും ബാക്കി 8 കോടിയിലെ പല തൊഴിലുണ്ടാക്കി. പക്ഷെ 8 കോടിയിൽ പല ഉണ്ടാക്കിയ സ്ഥാനത്ത് 26,000 തൊഴിലിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് 84 ലക്ഷം അപേക്ഷകൾ ഉണ്ടാകുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ എന്ത് വിചാരിക്കും? ഇത് വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട വിഷയമാണ് എന്ന്, അത് പൊള്ളുന്ന വിഷയമാണ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത് നിർമ്മലാ സീതാരാമൻ തന്നെയാണ് ഇന്നലെ. അത് ബജറ്റില് കുറെ സമയമെടുത്ത് ഓരോ പദ്ധതികളും വിശദീകരിച്ചു. 500 പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട വ്യവസായശാലകളിൽ അപ്രന്റീസുമാരായി 4,000 പേരെ വീതം നിയമിച്ച് 5 വർഷം കൊണ്ട് 1 കോടിയിൽ പരം പേർക്ക് ജോലി യോഗ്യത ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്കുന്ന പദ്ധതിയെ പറ്റി പറഞ്ഞു. വളരെ വലിയ തുക നീക്കി വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് അടുത്ത 5 വർഷത്തേക്ക്. അതുപോലെ വേറെ പരിശീലനങ്ങൾ നൽകുന്നതിന് അപ്സ്കില്ലിങ്ങിന് വ്യക്തികളുടെ എംപ്ലോയബിലിറ്റി വർദ്ധിപ്പിക്കാനും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരുടെ നിലവിലുള്ള സ്കില്ലുകൾ വർദ്ധിപ്പിക്കാനും ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള സ്കീമുകൾ അവതരിപ്പിച്ചു. ITഐകളുടെ നവീകരണവും ആധുനീകരണവും പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചു. അപ്പൊ ഇതെല്ലാം ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന ധാരാളം തൊഴിലുകൾക്ക് അപ്പുറത്തേക്കാണ് എന്ന് തന്നെ വിശ്വസിക്കാം. ഏതായിരുന്നാൽ ഇതിന് ആവശ്യക്കാരുണ്ടാകും എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണ് ഇക്കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഗവൺമെന്റ് പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചത്. അത് കണ്ടെത്തി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അത് അംഗീകരിച്ചു എന്നുള്ളതിൽ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഒരർത്ഥത്തിൽ അഭിനന്ദനം അറിയിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ബെറ്റർ ലേറ്റ് ദാൻ നെവർ എന്നുള്ളതാണല്ലോ ഒരു പ്രമാണം. അതായത് ഈ രാജ്യത്ത് ഒത്തിരി പേർക്ക് തൊഴിൽ ആവശ്യമുണ്ട്, അവർക്ക് വേണ്ട തൊഴിലുകൾ ഉണ്ടായിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളൊരു വസ്തുത. ഇതിന് മറുവശവുമുണ്ട്. ഈ രാജ്യത്തെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ നിർമ്മാണ കമ്പനിയായ എല്ലാവരും പറയുന്നത് അവർക്ക് വേണ്ടത്ര പണിക്കാരെ കിട്ടുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഹൈവേ നിർമ്മാണത്തിന് ഉത്തർപ്രദേശിലും ബീഹാറിലും പോലും പണിക്കാരെ കിട്ടുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ള വസ്തുതയുണ്ട്. വലിയ വൈരുദ്ധ്യമൊക്കെ തോന്നുന്ന കാര്യമാണ്. ആ വൈരുദ്ധ്യവും ഈ സമീപനത്തിന്റെ ഒരു തുടർച്ചയാണ്. അതാ നേരിട്ട് നല്ല കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കാത്തതിന്റെ ഒരു ഘടകം. നമ്മളുടെ ബജറ്റിലെ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട നല്ല കാര്യമായിട്ട് എടുത്തു പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ഫിസ്ക്കൽ കൺസോളിഡേഷൻ. നമ്മൾ 9.2% ധനകമ്മിയിൽ നിന്ന് ഇപ്പോൾ അടുത്ത വർഷം 4% കുറച്ചു കൊണ്ടുവരുന്ന ഫിസ്ക്കൽ ഗ്ലൈഡ് പാത്തൊക്കെ വളരെ ശ്രദ്ധാപൂർവ്വം നമ്മൾ മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്തു. ഈ വർഷത്തേക്ക് നമ്മൾ 5.1% കണക്കാക്കിയിരുന്നത് 4.9 കുറച്ചു. ഇടയ്ക്ക് കുറച്ച് കാശ് വേറെ പലയിടത്തും കിട്ടി, പോക്കറ്റൊക്കെ വലുതായിരുന്നിട്ട് പോലും അത് ചെലവഴിക്കുന്നതിന് പോകാതെ ഈ ഫിസ്ക്കൽ പ്രൂഡൻസ് നിലനിർത്താൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ ക്രമേണ ഫിസ്ക്കൽ ഡെഫിസിറ്റ് 3%, റവന്യൂ ഡെഫിസിറ്റ് 0 ആക്കുന്ന ഒരു സാഹചര്യത്തിലേക്ക് നീങ്ങാനാണ് ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത്. അതിൽ അണിയുടെ മാറ്റമില്ല എന്ന് കാണിച്ചു. അത് നല്ല കാര്യമാണ്. അത് നല്ല കാര്യമായിരിക്കുന്നതോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ തൊഴിലും ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്കുന്നതിന് ശ്രമിക്കണ്ടേ. ഇവിടെ തൊഴിലുണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്കുന്നതിന് ശ്രമിക്കുന്നതിന് പകരം നമ്മൾ പിൻവാതിലൂടെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് കൂടുതൽ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അത്തരം കുറെ സ്കീമുകളാണ് കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസം പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചത്. 410 ലക്ഷം പേർക്ക് 10 ലക്ഷം പേർക്ക് തൊഴിലുണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി അടുത്ത 5 വർഷം കൊണ്ട് ഈ 2 ലക്ഷം കോടി രൂപ മുടക്കുന്ന പദ്ധതിയാണത്. ചെറിയ കാര്യമൊന്നുമല്ല. പക്ഷെ അതിൽ പോലും നേരിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു തൊഴിൽ നൽകുന്ന സ്കീമല്ല വരുന്നത്. അത് ഒരു കാഴ്ചപ്പാട് എന്നുള്ളത് അത് അങ്ങനെയാണ്, അങ്ങനെ ആയിക്കോട്ടെ എന്ന് വേണമെങ്കിൽ സമ്മതിക്കാം. പക്ഷേ അത് സമ്മതിച്ചാൽ അതൊക്കെ സംഭവിക്കുന്ന രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ സ്വകാര്യ സംരംഭകത്വം വളരെ കൂടുതൽ സജീവമാണ് എന്നുള്ളൊരു വസ്തുതയുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അപ്രന്റീസ് ഇന്റേൺഷിപ്പ് കൊടുത്ത് അതിന്റെ സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് കൊടുത്ത് പറഞ്ഞു വിട്ടാൽ മതി. എവിടെ ചെന്നാലും ജോലി കിട്ടുന്ന സാഹചര്യമുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങളുടെ ഏത് സ്കില്ലിനും അവിടെ ആവശ്യങ്ങളുണ്ടാവും. അതില്ലാത്തടത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഇത് പഠിച്ചിറങ്ങിക്കോളൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അത് ആലോചിക്കേണ്ട ഒരു വിഷയമാണ്. അത് പ്രായോഗിക തലത്തിൽ നമുക്ക് ജനങ്ങളിൽ എത്ര പേർക്ക് ഏതെല്ലാം തൊഴിലുകൾ ആവശ്യമുണ്ട്, ഏതെല്ലാം രീതിയിലാണ് റിപ്പോർട്ട് പരിശീലിച്ചു വരുന്നത്, അതിൽ നിന്ന് എത്ര പേരെ വേറെ സ്ട്രീമുകളിലേക്ക് മാറ്റണം, ഇതേപ്പറ്റിയൊക്കെ കുറച്ചുകൂടെ ഗൗരവമായിട്ടുള്ള പഠനമൊക്കെ ആനുകാലികമായിട്ട് നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരുന്ന ഇതൊക്കെ പരിഷ്കരിക്കണമെന്ന് പറയാൻ പ്രഗതികൾ ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ പോലും എവിടെയെങ്കിലും തൊഴിലുണ്ടാകുന്ന സാഹചര്യം സൃഷ്ടിക്കുക. ഇതിന് പച്ച മലയാളത്തിൽ സ്വകാര്യ മൂലധന നിക്ഷേപത്തെ പ്രോത്സാഹിപ്പിക്കണം. ഈ രാജ്യത്ത് സ്വകാര്യ മൂലധനത്തിന് ക്ഷാമമൊന്നും ഇല്ല എന്ന് നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതെങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലും ഒക്കെ ഇവിടെ എത്തിക്കോളും. അത് എന്തുകൊണ്ട് സമീപകാലത്ത് കൂടുന്നില്ല? നമ്മുടെ വലിയ ഫാക്ടറികളൊന്നും പുതുതായിട്ട് യാതൊരു എക്സ്പാൻഷൻ പ്രോഗ്രാമുകളും പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. ഒത്തിരി പേരുടെ എൻവോയ്സൈഡ് ആണ്, ഇങ്ങനെ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ആലോചനയിലുണ്ട്. എൻവോയ്സൈഡ് പദ്ധതികളിൽ 85% ഒരു കാലത്ത് നടക്കാറില്ല. നമുക്കിവിടെ സ്വകാര്യ മൂലധനത്തിന്റെ നിക്ഷേപം വർദ്ധിക്കുന്നില്ല, അതാണ് പ്രശ്നം. ഇത് പ്രശ്നമാണെന്ന് ഞാനല്ല പറയുന്നത്. കഴിഞ്ഞ വർഷം ഒക്ടോബറിൽ ധനമന്ത്രി നിർമ്മല സീതാരാമൻ വ്യവസായികളുടെ സമ്മേളനത്തിൽ ചോദിച്ചതാണ്, ഇതെല്ലാം ഞങ്ങൾ ചെയ്തു എന്നിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ കാശ് മുടക്കാത്തത്. 2019 നിങ്ങൾ ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ടതുപോലെ കോർപ്പറേറ്റ് ടാക്സ് കുറച്ച് തന്നു. അതിന്റെ പിറ്റേ വർഷം PLI കൊണ്ടുവന്നു, എല്ലാം കൊണ്ടുവന്നു. നല്ല സ്കീമുകളാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. PLI സ്കീമുകൾ വളരെ നല്ലതാണ്. കോർപ്പറേറ്റ് ടാക്സ് കുറച്ചതുകൊണ്ട് ഇനി എല്ലാവരും കീശ തുറന്ന് പൈസ നിക്ഷേപിക്കും. ഒന്നും സംഭവിച്ചില്ല. ഈ ഒന്നും സംഭവിച്ചില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് ഒരു എക്സ്ക്യൂസ് ആകരുത്. ഇന്ത്യയുടെ ആവശ്യം 85 ലക്ഷം തൊഴിൽ ഒരു വർഷം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഒരുവിധപ്പെട്ട കാര്യങ്ങൾ നടക്കുമെന്നാണ് ഗവൺമെന്റ് പറയുന്നത്. വേറെ ആളുകൾ പറയുന്നു 120 ലക്ഷം തൊഴിൽ പൊതുവായിട്ടുണ്ടായാൽ മാത്രമേ വളർന്നു വരുന്ന ജനസംഖ്യയെ തൃപ്തിപ്പെടുത്താൻ പറ്റൂ. അത് ഏതെങ്കിലും ആകട്ടെ, 85. അതിലേക്ക് ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ രാജ്യത്ത് കാര്യമായ മൂലധന നിക്ഷേപം നടത്തുന്നത് സർക്കാർ മാത്രമാണ്. ആ സ്ഥാനത്തേക്ക് സ്വകാര്യ മേഖലയിൽ കൂടി കടന്നു വരണം. അതിനുള്ള വഴിയാണ് ബജറ്റിന് വേണ്ടിയിരുന്നത്. ദൗർഭാഗ്യവശാൽ അതിനുള്ള വഴി പുതുതായിട്ടൊന്നും കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. അന്ന് നിർമ്മലാ സീതാരാമൻ വ്യവസായികളോട് ചോദിച്ച ചോദ്യത്തിന് ആ സദസ്സിൽ നിന്ന് ആരും ഉത്തരം പറഞ്ഞില്ല എന്നുള്ളൊരു കാര്യമുണ്ട്. ഇത്രയൊക്കെ ചെയ്തു തന്നിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്തുകൊണ്ട് നിങ്ങളുടെ ബാഗ് തുറന്ന് പണം നിക്ഷേപിക്കാൻ വയ്യ? ഹനുമാനെ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കുക എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ഉപദേശം അവർ നൽകി. പക്ഷെ പിറ്റേന്ന് വളരെ സറ്റൈറിക്കലായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പീസ് ഒരു മാധ്യമത്തിൽ കണ്ടു. കച്ചവടം നടത്തുന്നവർക്കുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കാശ് മുടക്കും. കച്ചവടം നടക്കുമെന്ന് ഉറപ്പില്ല, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് മാഡം ഇത് പണം നിക്ഷേപിക്കാറുള്ളത്. നിങ്ങൾ ഫാക്ടറി തുടങ്ങി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സേവന കേന്ദ്രം തുടങ്ങി അതിലെ ബിസിനസ് നടക്കുമെന്ന് ഉറപ്പില്ലെങ്കിൽ പിന്നെ എന്തിനാ പണം മുടക്കുന്നത്? അപ്പൊ ബിസിനസ് നടക്കുമെന്ന്, ബിസിനസ് വളരുമെന്ന് ഉറപ്പില്ല. അതെന്തുകൊണ്ട്? ഈ രാജ്യത്ത് ബിസിനസ്സുകൾ വളരുന്നുമുണ്ട്, പക്ഷേ ആ ബിസിനസ്സുകളുടെ വളർച്ചയിൽ വലിയൊരു ഭാഗം തൊഴിൽ നൽകിയിരുന്ന മേഖലകൾ പലതും അസ്തമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ ട്രാൻസിഷൻ സംഭവിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഒരു കാലത്ത് 15,000 രൂപയ്ക്ക് അംബാസഡർ കാർ കിട്ടുമായിരുന്നപ്പോൾ പറയുമായിരുന്നു ഒരു അംബാസഡർ കാർ പുറത്തിറങ്ങിയാൽ 12 പേർക്ക് ജോലി കിട്ടുമെന്ന്. 1960-കളിൽ 12 പേർക്ക് ജോലി കിട്ടും. ശരിയായി. ഇന്ന് മാനേജിയിൽ ഒരു കാർ പുറത്തിറങ്ങിയാൽ എത്ര പേർക്ക് ജോലി കിട്ടും? 3-4. അതുപോലും ഉണ്ടാകാമെന്നില്ല. കാരണം നിർമ്മാണ മേഖലയിലെ തൊഴിലാളികളുടെ ആവശ്യമില്ലാതായി. ഇപ്പോൾ സേവന മേഖലയിൽ മറ്റും തൊഴിലാളികളുണ്ട്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പിന്നെ അസംബ്ലി പോലുള്ള ജോലികൾ. അത് ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച അളവിൽ പോലും വന്നിട്ടില്ല. നേരത്തെ നമുക്ക് മുൻതൂക്കം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നാണ് വസ്ത്ര നിർമ്മാണം, റെയിൽവേ വസ്ത്രങ്ങളിലേക്ക്. അതിവിടെ നിന്ന് വിയറ്റ്നാമിലേക്കും ബംഗ്ലാദേശിലേക്കും ഒക്കെ കരകയറി. നമ്മുടെ ഇവിടെ ആ ബിസിനസ്സുകൾ പറയും. ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പേർക്ക് തൊഴിൽ നൽകിയിരുന്നാണ് കോട്ടൺ ഒരു കാലത്ത്. ആ കോട്ടണിന്റെ തൊഴിൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു 70-കളിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നതിന്റെ 40-ലൊന്നായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നു കോട്ടൺ മേഖലയിൽ. കാരണം അതിന് അത്രയുമേ ആവശ്യമുള്ളൂ. നിങ്ങളുടെ അതിന്റെ പ്രോസസ്സ് വരുത്തി ഫാക്ടറിയിൽ എത്തുമ്പോൾ മുതൽ അതിന്റെ വസ്ത്രമായിട്ട് പുറത്തിറങ്ങുന്നത് വരെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളുടെ പ്രോസസ്സിൽ മനുഷ്യരുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ വളരെ കുറച്ചേ ഇപ്പൊ ആവശ്യമുള്ളൂ. അപ്പൊ ആ മാറ്റം വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ നമുക്കിവിടെ പലർക്കും തൊഴിൽ കിട്ടാതായി. ആ മാറ്റത്തിന് സർക്കാർ അവസരം കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അതിനാണ് പുതിയ മൂലധന നിക്ഷേപങ്ങൾ വരുന്നത്. അതുണ്ടായിട്ടില്ല. അത് വളർത്തേണ്ടത് വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ടതാണെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വേറൊരു കാര്യം കൂടിയാണ്. ദൈവാസാധനയാണ് ചൂണ്ടിക്കാണിച്ചത്. നമ്മുടെ കൺസംഷൻ കൂടുന്നില്ല, ഉപഭോഗം കൂടുന്നില്ല, മനുഷ്യന് കൂടുതൽ ചെലവഴിക്കുന്നില്ല. കേരളത്തിൽ കഴിഞ്ഞ കുറച്ചുകൂടെ ഡെമോഗ്രഫിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള മാറ്റങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാവാം. കാരണം ചെറുപ്പക്കാരുടെ എണ്ണം കുറവാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇന്നത്തെ കാശ് ചെലവാക്കുന്നവരധികം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. ഫാഷൻ വസ്ത്രങ്ങൾ അധികം മേടിക്കുന്നവരുണ്ടാവില്ല. പക്ഷെ രാജ്യത്തിന്റെ മറ്റു ഭാഗങ്ങളിൽ ചെറുപ്പക്കാർ ധാരാളമായിട്ടുണ്ട്. എന്തുകൊണ്ട് അവരത് പോകുന്നില്ല? അവർക്ക് പുതിയതായിട്ട് ജോലി കിട്ടുന്നവരും പുതുതായിട്ട് സംരംഭകരാകുന്നവരും ഒക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ കൺസംഷനിലേക്ക് ഓരോ രംഗത്ത് കടന്നു വരുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെ അവസരങ്ങൾ കിട്ടുന്നില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് കാറുകളുടെ വിൽപ്പനയിലും ടൂ വീലറുകളുടെ വിൽപ്പനയിലും ഒക്കെ ഈ താഴ്ന്ന റേഞ്ചിലുള്ളവ ഏതാണ്ട് ഉപേക്ഷിക്കപ്പെട്ടതായിരുന്നു. മിഡിൽ ക്ലാസ് മൂല്യമല്ല, പക്ഷെ അതിനപ്പുറത്തേക്ക് ടോപ്പ് എൻഡ് ഡീലക്സ് എന്നോ ലക്ഷറി എന്നൊക്കെ പറയാവുന്ന എന്ത് വളരെ വേഗം വിക്ഷേപിച്ചു പോകുന്നു. 3 ലക്ഷത്തിന്റെയും 4 ലക്ഷത്തിന്റെയൊക്കെ ബൈക്ക് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വളരെ പെട്ടെന്ന് പുതിയ ഒരു മോഡൽ ഇറങ്ങി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നല്ല ഡിമാൻഡാകും. 75,000 ചെറിയ സ്കൂട്ടറൊക്കെ തുറന്നു പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വേണ്ട. അത് വാങ്ങാനുള്ള പുതിയ പണിക്കാർ ഉണ്ടാകുന്നില്ല. മറ്റേത് വാങ്ങാൻ പഴയ പണിക്കാർ ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട്. അവർക്ക് കൂടുതൽ വരുമാനമുണ്ട്. ഒരു സ്വന്തം എത്ര വാങ്ങുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറെ സംരംഭങ്ങളിൽ ഏർപ്പെട്ട് കാശുണ്ടാക്കിയതിനും ഞങ്ങളുടെ നേട്ടങ്ങൾ ഇത്രയുള്ളതാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് ബജറ്റ് 6 സ്കീമുകളിലായിട്ട് 430 ലക്ഷം പേർക്ക് തൊഴിൽ നൽകാനുള്ള ഭാവനാപൂർണ്ണമെന്ന് അവരവകാശപ്പെടുന്ന പദ്ധതി അവതരിപ്പിച്ചു. അതത്ര ഭാവനാപൂർണ്ണമല്ല എന്ന് മാത്രമാണ് ഞാൻ പറയാൻ ആഗ്രഹിച്ചത്. മൂലധന നിക്ഷേപം വർദ്ധിപ്പിച്ച് കൂടുതൽ സംരംഭങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന ഒരു സാഹചര്യം സൃഷ്ടിക്കാൻ, അത് സൃഷ്ടിക്കണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ജനങ്ങൾ കൂടുതലായിട്ട് വിപണിയിൽ ഇറങ്ങി, കടകളിൽ ഇറങ്ങി, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ കോമേഴ്സ് സൈറ്റുകളിൽ പോയി കൂടുതലായിട്ട് വ്യാപാരങ്ങൾ നടത്തണം, കൂടുതൽ യാത്ര ചെയ്യണം, കൂടുതൽ ഉല്ലാസങ്ങളിൽ ഏർപ്പെടണം. അതൊക്കെ ചെയ്യാത്ത സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ അതിനുള്ള പ്രേരണ കൊടുക്കുന്നത് ബജറ്റ് എന്തുകൊണ്ടോ പരാജയപ്പെട്ടു. കഴിഞ്ഞ 1-2 ബജറ്റുകളും അതിൽ പരാജയപ്പെട്ടു. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് തൊഴിലില്ലായ്മയുടെ പ്രശ്നം ഇത്ര രൂക്ഷമായിട്ട് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. ഈ തൊഴിലില്ലായ്മയുടെ പ്രശ്നം നിസ്സാരമാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതിൽ കളഞ്ഞവർക്ക് കഴിഞ്ഞ 2 വർഷങ്ങളിൽ GDP കൺസംഷന്റെ തോത് കുറഞ്ഞു വരുന്നത് എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് വിശദീകരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. കാരണം ഇവിടെ പുതുതായിട്ട് വരുമാനമൊക്കെ കെട്ടി പോക്കറ്റിൽ 4 കാശ് ഉള്ളവർ പുറത്തിറങ്ങുമ്പോഴാണ് ചെലവ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ആ സാഹചര്യത്തിലേക്ക് രാജ്യത്തെ എത്തിക്കാൻ, അതായത് ഇവിടെ ഓരോ വർഷവും 1.25 കോടി യുവാക്കൾ പ്രായപൂർത്തിയായിട്ട് വരുന്നുണ്ട്. അവർക്ക് നല്ല അവസരം മുന്നിലുണ്ട് എന്ന് കാണിച്ചു കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റിയ നിക്ഷേപതന്ത്രം വീണ്ടും ആവിഷ്കരിക്കേണ്ടിയിരിക്കുന്നു. അക്കാര്യത്തിൽ ഒരു പുതിയ തരം ഉദാരീകരണമോ ഒക്കെ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ കൊണ്ടുവരാനാണ് ഗവൺമെന്റ് മുന്നോട്ട് വരേണ്ടത്. അക്കാര്യത്തിൽ ഗവൺമെന്റ് എന്തെങ്കിലും നടപടികൾ എടുക്കുമെന്ന് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കാം. ഏതായിരുന്നാലും ഈ സമൂഹത്തിലെ താഴേക്കിടയിൽ നിന്ന് മുകളിലേക്ക് ആൾക്കാരെ കയറ്റിവിടുന്ന ആ വികസന പ്രക്രിയ അത് കൃത്രിമമായിട്ടൊന്നും നടത്തിവിടണമെന്നല്ല. ആ വികസന പ്രക്രിയക്ക് എവിടെയോ ഊനം തട്ടിയിരിക്കുന്നു. പണ്ട് CK പ്രഹ്ലാദ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കോയമ്പത്തൂര് കൃഷ്ണസ്വാമി പ്രഹ്ലാദ് മാനേജ്മെന്റ് ഒരു പുസ്തകം എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഈ ബോട്ടം ഓഫ് ദ പിരമിഡിലാണ് യഥാർത്ഥ വിൽപ്പന നടക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ബോട്ടം ഓഫ് ദ പിരമിഡ് വലുതാകുക, അത് കൂടുതൽ സമ്പന്നമാകുക, ആ ഒരു സാഹചര്യം ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നതിന് ഈ ബജറ്റ് എത്രമാത്രം സഹായിക്കുന്നു. ജിനി കോഎഫിഷ്യന്റുകളിലൊന്നും എനിക്ക് വിശ്വാസമില്ലെങ്കിലും ജിനി കോഎഫിഷ്യന്റ് ഒക്കെ വർദ്ധിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അതത്ര നല്ലൊരു ഇതല്ല. അപ്പൊ ബോട്ടം ഓഫ് ദ പിരമിഡിനെ ഉയർത്തിക്കൊണ്ടുവരുന്ന തരത്തിലുള്ള വികസനം അതിനുവേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഒക്കെ നൽകുന്നത്. അല്ലാതെ ജനങ്ങൾ തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കുന്ന ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ ആവശ്യമില്ല. നമ്മൾ കുറച്ച് ടെക്നോക്രാറ്റിക് അവിടെ വെച്ചാൽ മതി, ഇങ്ങനെ കാശ് കിട്ടും, അങ്ങനെ അങ്ങ് ചെലവാക്കുക എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മതി. ഇതല്ല, ജനങ്ങളുടെ വികാരങ്ങളും ആവശ്യങ്ങളും അറിഞ്ഞ് പ്രവർത്തിക്കാനാണ് ഗവൺമെന്റുകൾ വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇവിടെ ആവശ്യം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ബോട്ടം ഓഫ് ദ പിരമിഡിന്റെ ഉയർച്ചയാണ്. ബോട്ടം ഓഫ് ദ പിരമിഡ് ഉയർന്നാലാണ് രാജ്യത്ത് വലിയ തോതിലുള്ള വിൽപ്പന വർദ്ധിക്കലും ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാവുകയുള്ളൂ. 2047 ഈ അമൃതകാലത്തിൽ ഇതില് നമ്മൾ വികസിത രാജ്യമായിട്ട് മാറണമെങ്കിൽ അന്ന് $15,000 ആളോഹരി വരുമാനം ഉണ്ടാകണമെങ്കിൽ ഇപ്പൊ 2060 താഴെയാണ് വന്ന് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. അത് ഉണ്ടാകണമെങ്കിൽ ഈ ബോട്ടം ഓഫ് ദ പിരമിഡിനെ ചവിട്ടി താത്തിയിട്ട് കാര്യമില്ല, അതിനെ അവഗണിച്ചിട്ടും കാര്യമില്ല, അതിനെ ഇൻക്ലൂസീവായിട്ട് വളർത്തിക്കൊണ്ടുവരണം. അപ്പൊ അതിനൊക്കെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ അടുത്ത ബജറ്റുകളിലൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാകും എന്ന് നമ്മൾ പ്രതീക്ഷയോട് കൂടി നിൽക്കുക. കാരണം ഒരു ബജറ്റുകളും അവസാനമല്ല, ഒരു ബജറ്റുകളും അതിന്റെ ഫൈനൽ വാക്കല്ല, എല്ലാ ബജറ്റുകളും ചേർന്നാണ് നമ്മൾ പുരോഗതിയിലേക്ക് നയിക്കേണ്ടത്. അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള അവസരത്തിൽ ഇവിടെ വന്ന് എൻ്റെ ചില ആശയങ്ങൾ പങ്കുവയ്ക്കുക എന്നുള്ള അവസരം തന്നതിനും അത് താല്പര്യപൂർവ്വം ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചതിനും നിങ്ങളേവർക്കും പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദി. താങ്ക് യു.
Thank you, C. Matthew, for your detailed overview. We will now open the floor for the Q&A session. Please feel free to ask questions to our esteemed panel.
Questions now. Vijay Kumar. Direct taxes, if you look at direct tax collections, we find that the corporate tax collections have not been going up, and the major chunk of it is coming from the individual taxation. Right? That is more than 50% of the corporates are zero tax companies. More than 50% of the companies are zero tax companies. And if you look at the GST collection for the past 1 month, you will see that there has been a dip. So tax revenues under GST has been going up, mostly because there were a lot of loopholes in the. Is it now you are? Am I audible?
Yes.
Not really. That's been because there were a lot of loopholes in the collection and people evasion has been plugged in. So I think it has reached almost an up as far as the collection of GST is concerned. So how do you think that government will be able to raise more revenue to in anticipation as anticipated in the budget to meet all these expenditures? That is question number 1. Question number 2 is the removal of indexation now for properties, because we will be talking about a K-shaped recovery, and the lower leg of the K was coming. This construction industry and real estate industry were coming under the lower portion of the K, where the growth has not taken up. And even though it is the second largest employer to agriculture, the people in the lower of that lower leg of the K has not found. That is what Mr. Matthew sir also was saying, that people at the bottom of the pyramid has not found and not been benefited by the GDP growth. So my question to you is, do you think that with a drag in the revival of the construction industry, investment in the construction industry will come down, and because of which the overall growth in the economy might be affected, and people interested in it, because investment in real estate was not only as for buying, selling property like Mr. Krishnan said, but it was not as a long-term investment. So once that people used to buy properties as an investment, suppose if a new construction flat is being constructed, the people have the deep pockets, they will go and invest in the flat at initial stages, and when the construction is complete, the value of the property will go up and they will be able to reap the benefit of it. Such investments will come down, and that might affect the construction industry, which will affect the overall economy. That's what I think. These are the 2 questions to you, and after you can ask this question.
Perhaps Mr. Krishnan is the most person to answer this question since it relates to taxation. But I am sure
there is no taxation. I am saying that because of the taxation, investment in the construction industry will come down, in real estate will come down. Because of which the lower strata are the people who are getting more employed in the construction industry.
Right. Got your point. The macroeconomic dimension of this is significant. Rightly said, that construction is highly labor intensive, and therefore it creates a lot of jobs. And that's why DC Matthew himself said that L&T is complaining about the lack of people. Now, there are many companies who want to hire, but the problem is that you are not getting the right kind of people. And here I will just digress a little bit and also respond to what he said. A major concern that we have in India is the problem of employability. We are producing millions of graduates every year, and these graduates don't have any competence, and therefore their employability is very low. Opportunities are there, but employability is very low. Now coming specifically to your question, well, part of the real estate, apartments, flats, etc., that are being produced are for investment. Part of that, I don't know what percentage, part of that is for investment, particularly during the last 3 years, perhaps 4 years, real estate has been doing well after a lull period during 2010 to 2020. And my concern was, with regard to this indexation provision disappearing, that investment in real estate as an asset class might decline, and I was also trying to paint a bright future for equity as an asset class, because that asset class will continue to perform very well given the growth prospects in the corporate profitability that we have in India. But then there is another segment of this construction. Take for example, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. The first document which the Prime Minister signed on becoming the Prime Minister for the third term was that order, the document for construction of 3 crore houses. 3 crore houses is not a small number. 3 crore houses, that too affordable houses. Affordable houses means more labor intensity will be there. So there will be construction activity happening, labor intensive work is being promoted, and also there are mentions of more focus on garments, leather, etc., where countries like Vietnam and Sri Lanka have been doing well, and India has not been doing well. So some of these segments are now under the PLI, production linked incentive scheme. So we need not be very pessimistic. Coming to the first part of your question regarding taxation, I don't think we have reached the top as far as GST is concerned. GST has been steadily going up. I expect it steadily to go up because consumption will never decline in India. India is the only country where the population is still increasing at a steady rate. Even in China, population is declining, and in Japan, population is declining at the rate of 7,000 a day. And I read a very interesting report which made a very succinct remark that in Japan, adult diapers are outselling baby diapers. So that is a reflection of the demand when your population declines. In India, we don't have a similar situation. Demand continues to be very high. So we need not be pessimistic about a trough being reached on GST. GST will continue to do well. And you know from your experience as a chartered accountant that compliance is increasing, loopholes are being plugged, and even tax evaders, people who were consistently evading tax, some of them like in Kerala have been healing their, cooling their heels in the prison. The famous director of a construction company because of violation of GST. Because since the provisions are very strict, there will be increasing compliance and increasing tax revenue. Of course, you are right that the tax collection from personal income tax is higher than the tax collection from corporate tax. Again, this is because of digitization and increasing transparency and difficulty for people to evade tax. Formerly, evading tax was very easy. That is why Palkiwala said that tax evasion has become the national sport. That is not the situation now because of digitization and also in the open network for digital commerce. Street vendors are getting loans because their revenue is coming via digital, like Paytm, Google Pay, etc. Therefore, you have the evidence of your revenue which enables you to get a loan from a bank, and that's why the bank loans also to these segments are going down. So we need not be very pessimistic about that.
Why you said that? Because the government is from this month onwards, government will not be reporting GST net collection. They will be going to report only on the gross collection because there will be refunds. Why they are speaking to the gross collection is they are not sure about the net collection.
They should be, I share that concern, they should be very transparent about the collections. There is no need for any fudging regarding that. Tax collections, all the data should be transparent. Completely with you on that.
And Mr. Krishnan, you are saying that this 1/4/2001 finding the value. Now that 1/4/2001 after the post-budget speech, he was giving an interview to the properties which are being purchased before 1/4/2001. Still you can use the fair value as of 1/4/2001. So, I mean, that problem which you said that how to find the value, whether it be a relevant value or not, still continues, whether no indexation has been removed.
That is right, but the difficulty, additional difficulty is 1/4/2001, we did not have this guideline value issue. For present valuation, I think you have a fair value fixed by the government. That is only as far as Kerala is concerned, maybe 10 years, 10 or 20 years. So you don't have a fair value, but the site gives similar property. Right now, at least Kerala registration site, we are able to get some information from that.
Now, what I am saying, the problem still subsists. It's
No.
not totally removed.
Yeah, it's not removed, but it is not for that problem that the indexation has been removed. It's only a guess that, one of the problems,
Yeah.
what the government would have thought, because in the memorandum they have not said what the problem is. They have said that for simplification and rationalization. To me, it was very simple because the indexation was very simple.
And regarding this buyback, now, if I remember right, the entire money is still treated as a dividend.
Yeah.
And the cost, they have said that there will be cost to be taken as nil.
Treated as nil,
It will be, yeah.
and then the loss means the cost is you are otherwise incurred on that. Whenever you are selling or extinguishing that, then only it will be set off.
That will be taken as a capital gain also.
In subsequent years. So we have to carry forward till such year, till that year when you are selling the remaining lot. Now, who's to keep all these details in all this in that issue?
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. My question to Krishnan, sir. Section 50AA, there is an amendment creating the unlisted debentures as total capital asset. So, on redemption of these debentures, there will be a total capital gain
Yes.
after 23rd July. So, what will be the effect of the existing debentures is issued earlier and maturing after 23rd July? What is the impact and what will be the TDS impact on that? Whether the TDS is still required to be deducted on the interest?
Yes, that's been done because it is a procedural section now.
What is a capital gain? The interest is specifically is treated as a capital gain. So 193 is only for the interest. So once it is treated as a capital gain, total capital gain, whether the government 193 will be applicable on.
No, your question is once it is treated as capital gain, the provision of TDS does not apply. That's your case.
Yes, yes.
No.
In that there is a two-part also. In between, after 23 July, it will be a capital gain. Then in between till 23 July, there may be some cases that TDS already been deducted in some cases. So what will happen to that amount also?
No, that you can claim because once it is going at a capital gains, you cannot get it assessed in two places. No.
No, sir. After 23rd July, if the debenture is redeemed, that reduction includes the total interest already taxed as an interest.
But then you don't have to pay no. Once already you have paid a tax on that, then the question of paying a subsequent
But section 50AA specifies that whatever amount redemption done after 23rd July, that will be capital gain. So, in our case, if the redemption is after 23rd July, the total amount received in excess of whatever invested is a capital gain.
But subject to whatever offer you have made can be deducted here.
So how can there is no provision provided in the Finance Act to adjust this amount against the capital gain?
True. You see, those are all lacunas when a transitory provision comes. But ultimately, if you look at the provisions of the Income Tax Act, you cannot be taxed on one income in two places.
Yes.
So once you suffer tax, probably the point that we may have a difficulty here is where will you show whether it is cost of improvement or cost of acquisition, because it's not coined into any of these things.
Yes.
But when computing a total income, whatever taxes you already paid can be reduced from this. It has to be, otherwise there will be a question of double taxation.
Okay. What about the TDS question? Do you think that TDS need to be deducted again?
TDS will have to be deducted because there's an incidence of the transferism. Incidence of the happening after 23rd July is there.
Yes.
So you have to deduct and then he has to pay the refund. As far as these transitory provisions, I think there are a lot of bottlenecks that will happen. When you are going into a new provision, it will clash with the old provision, and then there may be some difficulties which we have to get over.
My question is regarding taxation as well as indexation. See, whenever we have subscribed to rights, we are not sure about this anticipated taxation and everything as Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman has laid down in this budget. But what we see is there is no indexed amount or rate prevalent whenever we subscribe to rights. At the same time, when we redeem or the scheme is closed, I don't know, as per the present information, how it is going to be taxed. It is my first question. Second question is...
Sir, can you repeat that, sir? I'm not able to get it clearly. Can you repeat the question?
My question is, rights a scheme of listed equity we see in the stock market by different mutual funds and trades.
Okay.
But at the time of enrolling the scheme, we do not have an indexed amount or figure, but after duration of completion of this scheme, we, as per the present scheme of taxation, we are liable for taxation.
Okay.
Now, as a taxpayer, how I will be put in taxation?
Sir, exactly that is what I was talking. I will answer this first. The law that prevails as on the date of a transaction will be what the early practice.
Correct.
Now when you enter a transaction, the law was different.
That means an elderly person, a senior citizen, a retired person like me, will be penalized by my legitimate scheme of savings.
Unfortunate, sir. That is the way our law works.
My second question is equity linked savings schemes. Therefore, we do not find a marked amount of any of the equity. As the government, as well as me and you and all works together, the economy goes growing and growing. It is with nobody's particular interest or effort. But when the ELS scheme occurs, naturally the unit value is again multiplied. Therefore, I am subject to capital gain tax. See, it is very easy to say it is unfortunate, but a person, a retired person, and an elderly person like me is subject to such unfortunate.
Sir, when somebody comes to you and says that, earlier on the earlier regime, there is no taxation on this dividends or equity, you would have advised somebody that you put money in that. They would have got the money, but by the time the law would have changed and when you are receiving the money, it is taxable. See, in a taxing scenario, I think the law does not discriminate between the senior citizen, the person who is working hard, the person who simply gets the money just like that. There is no discrimination between that. The law as it stands as on the date of transaction will prevail. Now, unfortunately, you don't have a, only thing is what are benefits of a senior citizen if you are having a slab for a senior citizen. All those benefits or any investments that you can make which will bring you deductions. Those are the things that are available. You can't go back and say that there was a promise given by the government then. But today, how can you collect tax for me? Is it real? Morally, no. But morality and taxing statutes are entirely different. That is the way things go, sir.
Thrissur sir, you already said this 194P is a bit cumbersome, but the issue is, there is a practical issue also. See, most probably we will be confirming the capital at the end of the year, remuneration and interest. And as per the provision, either at the time of payment or at the time of credit, whichever is there, you have to deduct tax. And the partners will be withdrawing money on a monthly basis, periodic basis. So, what is your advice, whether we should deduct tax at the time of withdrawals or whether we can wait till the credit is happening as of 31/3?
The question of deducting tax on the current account withdrawal does not arise at all. That is a mixed fund which will include capital, it will be overdrawings also, that's not there. But the moment the risk that you run in the example that you are quoting is, suppose I told you that there is a tax planning that is happening in Bombay. I don't know whether it's a joke or something like that. On a quarterly basis, I am supposed to get over and crediting the capital account with the amount. And then I am trying to withdraw. Then I am not withdrawing and then crediting also on a regular pattern basis. Then there will be an interpretation where obviously you are withdrawing what in anticipation of the credit you are withdrawing. But in a normal sense, what we do as accounting, there is suppose every partner keeps on periodical withdrawal, there is a monthly withdrawal, or when he requests he withdraws some money. You can't equate that to a withdrawal at the time, equate to a payment out of remuneration. It's a withdrawal out of current account. At the end of the year, I decide, partners have a resolution and decide not to pay any interest. So at that point of time, the TDS mechanism of withdrawal does not arise according to me.
One more question and then we'll close the Q&A session.
So I am not a chartered. I have no questions not within the culture. I would like to have a general question. Like that, we had that there are about 8 crores of Indian citizens or their families are below the poverty line, below the poverty line. The freebies that the poor people are slowly coming to a cessation, and we don't, the present government doesn't think of freebies to be given to the poor people also. Now, in that concern, I may put a question. And the government, the first promulgation of the government in 1947, when we came to independence, the Mahatma Gandhi said our first prerogative is to wipe out the tears from the eyes of the common man. With respect to that, may I put a question? Whether this budget, or any budget in the recent years, has found any concern regarding the so-called poor, the below the poverty line, and anything has been mentioned in this. I had not read it very clearly, and I am not in a position to understand those things also. That is why I am putting this question. Whether these budgets have thought of the concern of the people who are below poverty line, and in the absence of really being given to them recently, is there any thought of doing something for the poor? I would like to get either answered by Matthew or take one, sir.
I share your concern, but the fact is in India, particularly after 1991, the liberalization, which pushed India's GDP growth rate to a much higher level, poverty has been coming down. In 1951, we had 57% people below the poverty line. Now it is much less. Of course, one can argue that poverty should be much lower than what it is now, but it is coming down. And there are many schemes which have been formulated and are being implemented only for the poor. Now, in India, we have this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Under this scheme, 80 crore people, which is a substantial part of the total population, are given free food grains. If you are a family of 4, that means that family of 4 will get the 20 kilograms of grain, rice or wheat, free of cost. That means we don't have hunger in the country. In economics, we distinguish between poverty, starvation, hunger, etc. Hunger was a problem. It is a widespread problem. As a child who grew up in the early 1960s in Kerala, I have seen hunger. But then when the 80 crore families are given, I am a person who believes that 80 crore families need not be given, but identification will be a problem. So 80 crore families are being given food grains completely free of cost, and they have taken care of the hunger. There is no hunger in the country. Poverty is there, it is coming down. Then you have programs like this PM Awas Yojana, for instance, where crores of houses are being constructed. 3 crores is the target set in this budget for the construction of Ayushman, but the affordable housing. Then we have large number of other schemes like Ayushman Bharat is healthcare. This is Awas Yojana. And please don't confuse. Perhaps I got it wrong. So this is a 5 lakh per family protection for health, hospitalization, and insurance. Such schemes are there. Large number of schemes are there. And it would be wrong to say that the poor are being completely ignored. But then poverty will come down only if we can sustain growth. For example, in China, they succeeded in sustaining a GDP growth rate of close to 9 to 10% for 25 years. And that was what brought the poverty down drastically in China. In India also we can do that. We might take a little bit longer, but it is a fact that poverty is coming down. I share your concern that it is not coming as much as it should, but it is coming down.
As a token of our combined gratitude, we now move on to the pleasantries. I request Shri Hamlet C. Paul to present a memento to Dr. V.K. Vijay Kumar. Next, I would like to request C.S. Lini C.T. to present a memento to C.A.R. Krishnan. And finally, I request Shri Sajiv Mandila to present a memento to Shri T.C. Matthew. Thank you, everyone. We now have a very brief presentation by IDFC Bank. I invite the bank representative, Mr. Praveen, onto the stage. We are glad to announce that IDFC Bank is a sponsor for today's event, so we thank them from the bottom of our heart.
So, very good evening all. Myself Praveen Dumbona, so branch manager, IDFC First Bank Particle branch in Thrissur. Thank you ICA Family Thrissur for giving me an opportunity for presenting our banking products here. First of all, എനിക്കിവിടെ നമുക്ക് കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു IDFC ബാങ്കിന് എങ്ങനെ പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്യണമെന്നുള്ളത്. പക്ഷേ സംസാരിച്ചപ്പോൾ 10 out of 5% are holding IDFC bank shares and 10 out of 7% are using our banking products like credit cards, pay later facility, bank accounts, fixed deposit or locked credit cards. So എനിക്ക് അതിനെപ്പറ്റി കുറച്ച് ഇതിലെ വന്നിട്ടില്ല പ്രസന്റേഷൻ സമയത്ത്. നമ്മൾ കുറച്ച് പെട്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു പോലെ 2-3 മെയിൻ ഫീച്ചേഴ്സ് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് ഓർത്ത് വെക്കുക. നമ്മൾ IDFC ഫസ്റ്റ് ബാങ്കിന്റെ ഫീച്ചേഴ്സിനകത്ത് മെയിൻ പറയുന്നത് ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് ഫസ്റ്റ് ഒരു ബാങ്കാണ് എല്ലാ ബാങ്കിങ് ട്രാൻസാക്ഷൻ സ്റ്റാറ്റസും ഫ്രീ ആക്കി കൊടുത്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഫെസിലിറ്റി വൺസ് എല്ലാ അറൗണ്ട് 30 ഫീച്ചേഴ്സ് നമ്മൾ ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ടാണ് കൊടുക്കുന്നത് കസ്റ്റമേഴ്സ്. സെക്കൻഡ് ഓപ്ഷൻ മന്ത്ലി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ക്രെഡിറ്റ് കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഫസ്റ്റ് ബാങ്കായിരുന്നു IDFC ഫസ്റ്റ് ബാങ്ക്. ഇപ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് 2-3 ബാങ്കുകൾ റീസെന്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ പ്രത്യേകം ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുന്ന 2-3 നോട്ടുകൾ എന്ന് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഒന്ന് അറൗണ്ട് 30 ചാർജസോളം നമ്മൾ ഫ്രീ ആണ്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് monthly interest credit, zero fee banking, monthly interest credit, and the main option is to fixed deposit also included in savings account. That means around 7.25 rate on the savings account. So no need to separate keep a fixed deposit in bank. 3 lakh up to 5 lakh 3%, 3 lakh in above amount. Sorry, 5 lakh in above 7.25 lakh rate on the banking rate. Next onwards, this facility is available for all accounts available. Fixed account, senior citizen account, all accounts features available. Different type of accounts and features in Diagonal, all the times main features of the senior citizen savings account, Medi assistant. Banking facilities means medical features senior citizen customers free. Next, cyber cover insurance senior citizens suspicious activities banking scheme bank accounts. Next, current accounts. Same current account also, in there, bank, the current account customers interest product launch current account product Bravo. Bravo means 2 lakhs and above current account customers balance amount every multiple of 100,000 automatic auto staking support facility. Customer check out amount pass fixed deposit same value. Our features are Bravo facility. That's 7.25 rate yearly interest tablet. Next option main feature all current account customers general insurance default 31st 2025 open customers general insurance included. Features brochures staff clarification. In the products, we have local facility in the Particle branch and gold loan also available. Insurance loans available. And the support of branch visit. Thank you all for thank you ICA family for giving an opportunity for this video.
Thank you Praveen for the informative presentation. To deliver the vote of thanks, I now invite CA Ajit Kaiwal, Secretary of Thrissur Management Association and past chairperson and present managing committee member of Thrissur branch of ICA.
Thank you, Divya. So, I would like to propose the vote of thanks in really one word, but it's quite rare occasion because business persons are coming over here, the manager professionals are coming over here, the finance professionals are coming over here, and also the investors are coming over here. So I would like to quickly go into my role. So I would like to propose the vote of thanks. My thanks to Sri Hamlet Paul, the President of the Investors Club, CS Lini City, the Chairperson ICSA Thrissur Chapter, and Sri Sachi Manila, President Chamber of Commerce, for coming forward for this and associating with this for this program and bringing. And you are very instrumental in bringing three speakers, great speakers. Dr. V.K. Vijay Kumar, the Chief Investment Strategist, Georgia Financial Services. C.A.R. Krishnan, Senior Partner, Mrs. Rangavadi and Co. all the way from Malapura. And Sri T.C. Matthews, Senior Financial Journalist all the way from Cochin, who came out here and deliberated huge. Yesterday, Finance Minister was presenting the budget. Today, they were speaking about the intricacies. So, thanks to the speakers, thanks to these persons, and also with I must mention that the teammate president has identified the speakers and a very huge thanks to him. Sri T.R. Anantaraman, President of TNA, and a very instrumental person of today's program coming out together is the very dynamic chairperson of Thrissur branch, Anu Francis, who gave us these wonderful promises and who proved to be a true host. And also I must mention the thanks to C.A. Divya, who is the Secretary of Thrissur branch for choreographing this program. Thank you, Divya. And also special mention to IDFC Banks. Thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, C. Ajit Kaimal. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to the national anthem.